Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 88 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. Welcome back. I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Tithe Ben. How you doing, BT?
Hello, yeah, doing pretty good, thanks.
What's new, buddy?
Not a lot. Settled into this place now, which is good. All unpacked. House moving is stressful, really stressful. I'm sure everyone already knows that.
It's also like almost never ending as well.
Exactly. Yeah, like there's still bits that need to be done.
Have you got all your boxes on site, or have you got anything in storage or anything?
No, everything's here. Everything,
Okay.
for the most part, everything's unpacked. The garage is still a state, but that's kind of the dump everything that I don't need to worry about for now in the garage, and one day I'll make it into a printorium.
Ah, so that is where the printer stuff is going to go. That's where the good stuff is.
Yeah,
Have you got a loft?
we do, but it's all like it's like 10 feet of insulation that you got to like kind of climb through. So it's not really.
That's good.
Really.
So
Yeah.
you're saying there's nothing in the loft right now?
I mean, not yet. No.
That's good. That's great. Generally speaking, if something goes in the loft, that's where it stays until the house burns down or you move.
That is very true. Yeah, that is very true.
Or you could do what Tiff and I did and get a storage unit, then move house, then buy new stuff because it's too difficult to get to the stuff in the storage unit, then move house again, and yeah, now we've got two tumble dryers.
You moved your house nearer to your storage unit.
That's what we actually we did, yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, we did, but because the stuff was at the back of the storage unit, we then just bought more stuff. So really, all I'm doing is paying £100 a month for a shipping container of things I'll never use.
Hey, one day it could become like, I don't know, a game room or something. Can you do stuff like that in storage containers? Can you like go and just use them as a room?
Yeah. After the first time we moved, well, between the first and the second time, I was looking at that. I was like, you know what? This is a decent space for 100 and something. It's £107.30 a month. I was like, this is all right. You know what? USB lights. That's no problem. All the lights we use it's all USB powered, right? So you can a couple of phone packs, no worries. You can film in here, it'd be fine. It'd be really good. Then we moved house again, and the rest of our stuff went in there. There's like 2-3 beds. There's a sofa, but it's all like at the back. Both of my tumble dryers are in there.
But I have two.
Well, yeah.
One doesn't quite cut it, does it, Ben?
When we moved, it didn't have there wasn't like an out bit, like an out hose area for the tumble dryer, so I had to get a condenser tumble dryer because I am one of these people. Tiff is even worse than me. She will wake up in the morning and go, I've got no uniform, I've got no clothes, like I need to do some washing, and we end up having to do washing at like 5 in the morning. So the condenser tumble dryer was definitely needed. But that's people always you kind of get this choice, don't you, of like a tumble dryer or a dishwasher. What would you go with? What have you
Dishwasher every day of the week. Like we've just moved to a place with a dishwasher, and it's a game changer.
But do you have a tumble dryer?
No.
What?
Need one of those.
What?
Dry clothes anywhere you find them.
No, I am the opposite. Like washing dishes is fine. You've got a draining board; it dries itself. Clothes, I can't do it. I need a tumble dryer. Mostly because I'm really lazy when it comes to shirts, and you press the little button that says anti-crease, and it just like take them out, hang them up, never iron a shirt. It's fantastic. Life hacks with the Bonehead Podcast.
Should we talk about Blood Bowl?
Maybe in a minute. Yeah, no, good. So house move's going all right. It's settling in nicely.
Yeah.
Is this the first time you booted up the PC proper? Have we done a podcast since you've moved in properly?
No, we did. Yeah, I did. We did one with Trips weeks ago.
Ah, there you go. There you go. That's wicked. I have been ill for a week. So's Tiff. We got some kind of bug, and have just both had like negative energy the entire time. Like literally, woke up, did stuff, and then got really sleepy. So we spent like Friday. I landed one of the jobs I'd applied for. Awesome. Second interview went really. I didn't think it actually went that well, and then I got to like 4 o'clock. Hadn't heard anything, so I went straight down to Tesco's, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just miserable." You know when you're just miserable because you start rethinking questions, and you're like, "Oh, I should have said this instead of this." So I went down to Tesco and bought just a load of bad food. So I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna eat myself happy." Because this is I could have done better. And then I went down to Tesco's, bought a bag full of nonsense food, and then got the call as I was driving home. I was like, hey, this is excellent. Now it's celebration food. So
I mean, physical. It might be bad for your physical health, but it's great for your mental health. So think of it that way.
Yeah, it was a solid mental health investment. And then Tiff was like, "Oh, we'll celebrate." And then we both came home this Friday night and were just sniffly, miserable messes. Went to sleep, woke up basically Sunday. I was like, "No, I'm enraged at the fact we've lost our weekend so far. Let's go to Games Workshop. Let's go to Southampton. Like, it'd be really fun." Went to Games Workshop. I was apparently very rude to one of the Games Workshop people.
Ooh.
Yeah.
According to
Tiff.
Oh, okay.
Well, because we're feeling rubbish, I was feeling rubbish, and we're walking through like Southampton High Street, and this stranger comes up. You can see, the people with clipboards and leaflets, and they're like bothering everybody. And I'm like, oh, I just am not in the mood. But he made the biggest mistake. I was in a proper miserable mood. Normally, I try to be like a nice guy, but his opening question was, "Are you nice people?" So this dude just walks at us in the middle of Southampton. It's like, "Are you nice people?" And I just immediately went, "No," and carried on walking.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that does answer that, doesn't it?
I was like, all right, good. I felt good about that. We went into Games Workshop, and then some of the crew in our local Games Workshop are amazing. But Games Workshop can be quite a loud place, right? There's a lot of child energy, and one of the dudes there was channeling this voluminous child energy towards me while I was merrily looking at paints. And it was just kind of like, he's like, "Oh, what are you painting?" And I was like, "Oh, lots of stuff." And he was like, "Oh, do you need any help?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good." You can hear the audible full stop there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to respond to that. I'm not even
exactly. And then I went up to the counter and I paid for my stuff, and it came to £50. And I was like, "I've bought 3 paints and a paintbrush. This is awesome. I'm glad this is free range organic paint. This will be great." And then we walked out, and Tiff was like, "You are so rude." I was like, "No." Was I? Was I? And I was like, "I just wanted to be left alone." She was like, "Yeah, but you are so rude." And I actually still feel bad about that. But we went we went home, and then we went to sleep again. And every day this week it's been a case of, right, I'll do his work, it'll be good, then I'll do some videos, and it's just got to like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've just been dead on my feet. Like, this week has been entirely sponsored by Tesco Blue Spark sugar-free energy drink, which might be why I've been feeling so bad. But
maybe it's all catching up. You've got a full year's worth of Blue Spark. It's all just kind of built up.
It's just this horrible can. I'm building a raft to get between me and Milton on the Isle of Wight, and this is I'm genuinely halfway there, I reckon. So sorry if you follow the channel and have been expecting Blood Bowl videos. I expected to film Blood Bowl videos, but that has not happened. However, feeling better today. Tomorrow is going to be awful. I'm going to be in London again. And then Saturday and Sunday, Tiff is working, and I will be doing nothing except Blood Bowl stuff. And I am quite looking forward to it, which is
very nice.
Very cool. Anyway, Ben, you are quite right. We are here to talk about Blood Bowl, and I think I shared the show notes. What's the skinny? Yeah, that's good. That's good. What are we talking about on episode 88?
We're going to be talking about the Blood Bowl World Cup. It's happening next year. We're also going to be talking about our next tournament, the Dorset Dungeon Bowl, and the next Bonehead Championship YouTube series.
Yeah, it's kind of a kind of a bit of a catch-up episode. There's a bunch of stuff going on in Blood Bowl world, and it seemed sensible to kind of put a little bit of a preface together to say this is some of the stuff that's coming up, and basically get our opinions on things. Anyway, let's bounce to Blood Bowl news. Anyway, let's talk Blood Bowl news, and hopefully that's been an appropriate cutting point there. So in the world of Blood Bowl and Games Workshop, there was one little bit of news. We're not going to mention Curse City because I don't think we should. What? Yeah, it's back. Anyway, Blood Bowl, they're re-releasing the Wood Elf pitch. They've shrunk the dugouts, and they've released some quite bad dice. Ben, what do you think about the dice?
I mean, they're super unreadable, so half of the course for Blood Bowl dice, thanks Games Workshop. Can't see a thing on them.
I like the logo. I think I can't really see it.
I can't see the
logo. Oh, man. I mean, what's the best dice they've done so far? Like, what's the...
Blood Bowl?
Yeah.
The original Goblin ones were good.
Oh,
the yellow and black ones, right?
Yeah. Oh, they were... yeah, they're excellent.
Yeah.
Big fan of the Nobility dice and the Undead dice, which are basically the same. Like the ivory dice with stuff. Super clear, super readable. Love those. Ogre one's okay as well, because it's kind of grey. Yeah, those are probably the top ones. The Wood Elf one, bad. And I think the worst one has to be the Nurgle one that they did the other week. That was just like... I don't even know what colour it was.
Oh, that wasn't the same. Was it the same as the first run or no?
I think it was slightly worse. I think they found
I think it was. I think they made it a bit brighter, didn't they?
Something like that. They were like, oh, this is too easy to see. I know. Let's go with Nurgle.
Yeah. Because I've got these dice. Or I had these dice. I think gave them to Milton. Yeah, and these were the first dice I bought, and they were dark green with orange, and they were actually really good. Like, I was using them for a while, but then I'm just looking at the new ones, and you're way brighter, but the orange is the same. You can't see it. These first ones are fine.
It's really baffling. Do you think they're just limited by like the colours, and they kind of like...
No, I think they've created a brand, and the brand is bad dice, and they're just sticking.
It's weird.
Like their pots, right? They have their paint pots, which are bad. They must know they're bad, but they will not change them because it's their brand. Maybe that's part of it.
Maybe it's just high fashion. I don't understand a lot of high fashion. I'm like, you have zippers on your coats but no pockets. I don't understand this. This is illogical to me. And then I don't know, Games Workshop are like, you know what would be really fun? And do you know what people would buy? Dice you can't read. Oh, that's so swish. Do you know what? They should sell blank dice. And I guarantee if they said it was a limited release, they'd sell their heck out.
They did. The Eiseneth Deepkin dice.
No.
They may as well be blank. They're not, but they may as well be. Because they're see-through, because it's like water.
Oh, come on.
There's the tiniest little lines to identify them. You're just rolling ice cubes.
I think they peaked with the squig dice.
Oh God,
they were awesome. They were so good. They were not the most practical dice. They were clear until the paint rubbed off because it was made of rubber. And they made excellent tokens. And I played Mana Bowl Stunty Cup, and I was I running squigs or was I not running squigs? I think I was running squigs, and the opponent was also running squigs, but he had the squig dice, and it was so good. It was just so good. I love squigs. We need more squigs in Blood Bowl. I guess technically any squigs would be the appropriate amount of squigs as an increase. Anyway, Games Workshop, yep, they've released some more dice. If you are one of those people that absolutely loves Blood Bowl dice, then you've got more to buy. Just please don't use them, I guess. And the Wood Elf pitch is not bad. Wood Elf pitch is not bad. But in the world of Wood Elves, smooth transition there, we've got the Succubus Studios, Sylvan's Team and Cheerleaders. Now, I think we kind of teased this one. We said that there was some stuff popping about it, didn't we, Ben? A little while ago, and now it has gone live, and it's already smashed its target. So it's at 16,000 against a target of 4,000, 178 backers, 19 days to go. So March 22nd, dude, we're nearly like, oh yeah. Anyway, it's nearly the summertime. So let's have a look at some of the team. I mean, it's an interesting thing. They've gone with STLs, but they've painted the STLs, and they kind of look like they belong on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I mean, it's good because you still have they've got rotated models, which is actually really good. You never see on these Kickstarters. But yeah, initially I was just like, wait, are these just drawings?
Yeah.
They look hand-drawn, like 2D models, which is actually kind of cool. And I'd be annoyed if it wasn't like for the fact you can see the 3D version.
I need to scroll down a bit and see the 3D versions though. No, so there's two prices for this. Well, there's more than two actually. There's a cheerleader pack, which is £49, and you get 12 cheerleaders, which is two of the different types. So there's a bunch of different types of cheerleaders as well. It's kind of like it's a split Kickstarter. But we are here for the teams, really. So £58 will get you the Sylvans pack. You will receive 15 miniatures, so 2 throwers, 7 linemen, 2 war dancers, 4 catchers, and all the stretch goals. And then for £67, you get 2 throwers, 7 linemen, 4 catchers, 2 war dancers, stretch goals, and a tree man. Now, the tree man is pretty cool.
He is really good.
Let's see. We've got a little spinny image of the tree man here as well. It's a big model. They've got a cool little size comparison as well, which is incredibly useful in these Kickstarters when they do that. Even though, if you see the amount of pieces this dude comes in.
Oh my word, yeah. He's got like a back with all the individual twigs.
Hey, at least his jaw isn't separate, so it's not it's not full Games Workshop. So that's something, I guess.
It's got a funny little face.
He does have a weird little face. It looks kind of like the Super Mario Brothers movie, like the Goombas.
Yeah, the Goombas.
Yeah. Or a Nurgling, actually. Weird one. But it works. Ben, £67 for an entire Wood Elf team. What do you reckon?
It's very reasonable. It's really reasonable. Like, I mean, you're talking 2 Games Workshop boxes and the Tree Man from there. That's going to be more than that with the price hike.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we're talking about £28, I think, for a team after the increases from like Entoyment or something, and then 15 quid for the Tree Man. So yeah, you're right, about 70 something pounds. It's just how much a Blood Bowl team, a fully kitted out Blood Bowl team is now, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Even dwarves. I know people always throw up like, oh, dwarves is just one box. Yeah, but then if you want to actually like buy the Death Roller, the Death Roller is a chunky cost as well.
Yeah.
So
something that's worth noting about the Succubus things as well is they're all like predominantly female sculpts, which, you know, if you want more females in Blood Bowl, there is that. They are quite curvaceous. Some of them are quite thick. That's with 2 C's. And yeah, but I mean, they're not egregious. There are a lot worse culprits out there for the female sculpts. Yeah, these ones seem quite toned down.
The Wood Elf team itself, yeah, they're females, but they've all got appropriate uniforms on. This is
exactly.
You know, if
sports people.
Yeah, I think we always kind of have this thing like, I have a daughter, wants to play Blood Bowl. What team is there that actually she will relate to that this works with? And while, you know, anyone can play any team, it is always useful to have a variety of players. And I do like the way that Games Workshop are now kind of mixing up their stuff in their teams, and it's just really normalized now, which is awesome. Now, talking of normalized, there's something here that is not normalized, which is the Akaro Chibi Bowl team. Now, we did have a look at this, I think, a couple of weeks ago on the last episode. So they've got they are 3D printing this. So I think the Sylvans one was all going to be resin. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, resin and shipping. Estimated delivery in September. Kind of forget when it comes to Kickstarter. So Akaro Dice, they have got this Chibi Bowl, and each of these models are very like Arcadia Quest, or they're just chibi in style. I think, what was it? I kind of described it as, what's the game where you build your walls and make friends and then get raided?
Oh, like Clash of Clans.
Yeah, it's kind of got this Clash of Clans vibe.
It really does, actually. Yeah, like the big guy.
yeah, the big guy and the beards. They're just very Clash of Clans. Now, it's cool, and I think we talked about this as well a couple of episodes ago. It's good to have different variety of like styles, because the great thing about Blood Bowl is as long as you can tell what stuff is, you can use stuff as any stuff. And they've done a really good job here of having different positionals you can identify, but having this really unique style. I personally love like cartoony stuff. I do love the cutimals as well. I mean, I don't know where you stand on the cutimals from Grebo, Ben.
They're not for me. I can see why people like them, but I generally like quite in-theme models.
Yeah. Tiff's like a big fan of them. She was like, oh, if you get me one of these, like, I'd probably play. And I don't believe it. Otherwise, I would have bought all of them. But, you know, what could you go? So Chibi Bowl, £54. 1 ogre, 5 linemen, 4 blitzers, 1 thrower, 2 catchers, 3 halflings. So £54 for a fully kitted out human team. They've also got an Alliance Chibi Bowl team as well. One Tree Man, who is kind of like a Chibi Groot, which is cool. I like the way they've done that. One Tree Man, 5 human linemen, 1 human blitzer, 1 human thrower, 1 human catcher, 2 halflings, 1 dwarf blitzer, 2 dwarf blockers, 1 slayer, 1 dwarf runner, and stretch goals for £55. So they've kitted out several different teams, and then they've got an all-in-one, which is everything ever. Ogre, Tree Man, halfling, yeah, everything for £96. Now that is quite a lot. Estimated delivery of May 2022. But for one team, £55, including big guys, it's better that's below the threshold, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's physical models, right?
That is physical models. Yeah, they're not doing STLs for this that I could see.
Yeah, eco resin. Also, they're 3D printing, but they're not 3D.
Yes,
they're 3D printed models, but not for printing at home.
Yeah. Gotcha. They are 3D printing them themselves and passing them on, which I think we're starting to see a bit more of. I mean, Grebo.
Yeah, like Grebo do that. Yeah.
Grebo definitely trailblazed to that one. Now,
I think something that would be nice to see, I'm just going to scroll down in case they have done it, is like actual printed examples. Because printers do vary in quality.
Have it here. If you scroll down a little bit, there's got a size comparison, which is also incredibly useful. Oh, I've lost it.
I've got to zoom in quite a bit there.
Yeah. So there is a size comparison, which is useful. So you can
okay,
see...
no, they're nice. They're nice quality. Yeah, because if they're printed on like a printer like I have, like at the real bottom end of the barrel, then
it might not be as quite good. Don't talk about the Elegoo Mars like that. the Mars 1 is brilliant. Everything printed on that is brilliant. None of it's bad. It's just not as good as some of the newer stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, if you Agrax everything like I do, it really doesn't need to be super primo. I love this. They've got a load of their other stuff in there as well. You got dice cups, keychains. You got different dices. It's dice, isn't it? I should know that by now. Reroll markers. They've got some cool expandable bits. So there's a pet, which is a barrel, but they've also got a griff. They've got a coach. They've got a cheerleader, wizard. And you can add little packs. You can add lineman packs. You can add dwarf packs. A chainsaw dude. The squirrel is amazing.
Yeah, the squirrel is good.
I might actually have to back it just to get a few squirrels. That's cool. Hey, they've actually got a sheepskin guy as well, which is way better than Games Workshop. 2 different trees. The Star Tree Man's quite cool, but this does absolutely look like an iPad game.
Yeah, it does.
Dude, imagine if they had like a Sevens iPad game with this art style. That'd be so good. I mean, it would all be paid to win, but
yeah, and you'd get horrendous ads on YouTube. But
yeah, hey, we could do it. We could finally live the dream.
You just record some footage of like, I don't know, the Avengers, and then like put that on YouTube, and
not in-game footage.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I love it. This is wicked. No, I'm a really big fan of this. I like the ogre. I like the individual models. I think it's a cool style. It is very different. It is very stylized, which is something that we say because it is. It will definitely not blend in with the Games Workshop teams, but it looks cool. It looks fun to paint. It lines up with the it kind of lines up with the Leprechaun team.
It does, yeah, very much. They'd look pretty spot on playing again.
Yeah. I like it. I think it's cool. That is 10 days to go. So finishes Sunday, March 13th, which is my brother's birthday. Mustn't forget that. And they're halfway to their goal already. So
nice. Well, good luck.
I think they'll probably be all right. Cool. Right. Before we move on to the next bit, it is my brother Sam's birthday on the 13th. And his girlfriend texted me and Tiff and was like, hey, having lunch out for Sam's birthday. Would you like to come? We were like, yeah, sounds great. That sounds absolutely brilliant. I then catch up with my mum like a week later or something, and she's like, oh, I hope Sam likes his surprise lunch, and I'm not paying attention at all. And then they pop round, and then so Sam and Sammy go and see mum for mum's birthday, and then because they're in the area, they say hello to us, and they're like, oh, I haven't seen you since Christmas. And Tiff immediately, bless her heart, goes straight in there with, oh yeah, we're going out for lunch soon. Absolute
No hesitation.
deadpan silence. Like Sam's like, "Are we?" Sammy's like, "No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not." And I'm just like, "Oh, this is awful. This is awful." And then probably about half an hour of just kind of like this awkward stuff happens. But I went back and reread the message from Sammy, and I was like, "It doesn't say keep it a secret." I was like, "We are in the clear here. You have to stress if you want to keep it a secret, you have to write it there. Do not tell someone." Because Tiff was just so excited. She was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go out for lunch," and yep, Sam didn't know, so that was quite amusing.
No, he does.
Yeah, it does. I know, bless him. Right, last bit of Blood Bowl news is 3D Fantasy Football Dugouts Volume 2. Now, this one is STL. This one is stuff you print at home. And it is kind of like the display dugouts. We haven't seen these for a little while, Ben, but they were kind of all the rage a little while ago.
I think that was when like printing, like we were, at least both of us were definitely still like new to it. And it was all really like must print everything. And now that kind of novelty is sort of worn off. So it's a lot less exciting for me personally. But yeah, like these are really cool. And I do really want one someday. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah, printing large stuff, whether you've got resin or plastic, is not.
Yeah, I don't have time for this, but it's really good. It is really, they are really good. I like all of these. They're super thematic. I absolutely adore seeing people bring these to tournaments. When people rock up with like a cool dugout, it's best, and you're already in the running for like best team and these things. So.
Yeah, having a great display. Oh, ow, my leg. The dwarf one's wicked. They've got like these hall bits that just look like statues and things. The chaos one's cool. You got skulls, bleeding blood because it's chaos, and that's what chaos do. Chaos is so heavy metal, isn't it? Oh, I just absolutely love it. Absolutely wicked. And they've got a lizard man one. It's got Aztec-y runes and stuff. I mean, it's really, really cool. And I don't think the price is all that bad either. Chaos dugout, STL file, £9, Ben. You know, they're all £9. £13 with stretch goals. I'm not sure what the stretch goals are likely to be. What is it for everything? All the dugouts, £25. That's it. As you know, if you want a dugout, it's a pretty good way of doing it. They've got some cool little stretch goal bits, like little spotlights and things. It's very, very cool. And you've got the old ones, the undead one and the orcs ones. Oh, I remember these. Yeah, they're very cool. It's just just the prospect of printing something that large. It's just a big commitment. I mean, even with the Mars 2 Pro, like you can print an entire Blood Bowl team on one plate, maybe 2 plates. But none of that is terrain.
I wouldn't do this on a resin. I would not do this on
but then having seen the work that goes into leveling and releveling the plastic printers, you know, our friend Milton's having a horrible time with the plastic printer at the moment. Even though Trips has given him a ton of encouragement, print one.
They're fine. I find them a lot easier to deal with than the resin one. It's just, for me, it's purely the concept of painting all this, like getting it all ready and then painting it is daunting when I have so many other things to do, like painting wise, like hobby wise. It's just like this would go straight on the back of the to-do pile.
If you could buy this, if Games Workshop did this for £30, would you buy one?
No.
Ah, interesting.
No, I wouldn't. It's not so much the printing; it's just the painting of it. It's just I suck at painting terrain. Like I've been playing 40k since 2014, and I've painted like 3 bits of terrain. It's so boring.
Yeah, terrain. You paint like one test piece for big war games, and then you're like, oh yeah, cool. If I do this is going to look great, and then you move on with your life. Yeah, exactly. That definitely happens. And Milton is painting and printing a whole bunch of 40k terrain that he will probably never use right now as well, which is also how it tends to go. Anyway, that is it for the Blood Bowl news. I have significantly lost the show notes, so I'm going to assume that we are done with
I think we're done.
The news bits, and we'll move on to hobby. And we're back. So this is the bit about the podcast where we talk about hobby and games and things that we've done. BT, other than moving house, what have you been up to? What have you been building? What have you been playing?
Yeah, I've actually done decent amount of hobby. Like still not quite like fully into the swing of things yet. But I have been working on a custom converted Big Mech on bike for a little 40k league that
Hey, is
that
that
I'm gonna run with some
is that the
friends.
model that was featured on the Warhammer community?
No.
So Games Workshop have this massive anti-printing, anti-third party rule where they will not show or even acknowledge any of that exists. And then they did this spotlight, this community spotlight, and in one of that was one or two custom orc vehicle things that are produced by one of the companies that Ben loves, and just there prominently. There you go. Yeah, I knew you had it. I assumed you had it. Yeah, I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. Like, don't tell Games Workshop. Nobody tell Games Workshop.
That's their logo on it.
Yeah, exactly. Games Workshop, like, this is ours now.
That's really funny. It didn't last long, but
did they take it down?
They did take it down.
Oh,
yeah,
that's kind of sad, but awesome at the same time. Like, so good. Anyway, the orc wagon looks awesome. Is your entire orc force painted?
This like speed mob thing. It's like the Army of Renown. That when I've done this and I've got that war boss to do the Forbidden Games Workshop one, that will be that army done. But I've got a lot more orcs.
Oh yeah,
most of them are not painted.
No, okay. This is like having a Blood Bowl team, and you've painted your starting 11. Okay, you've still got
but instead of 11, it's more like 55.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No.
That's all I've done for hobby though. But I mean, I don't usually do conversions, and that was the first time I kind of like, well, not. I'd say probably the second time I've properly like tried it, and I'm really happy with it.
You're an orc player though. Like,
I know I'm the worst orc player.
That's really strange.
Yeah. I don't really like what I was saying with the terrain earlier. I'm very much just, I like painting. I like painting detail. I like painting small stuff. Just the concept of building and all that kind of stuff is not for me. I don't know what it is. I like the paint. I don't really like the knives.
And we saw that when you did your box opening.
Yes. One of those was real.
That does not surprise me. Converting stuff is weird. Like, I used to love it as a kid, and I don't know whether it's just because like we joined Warhammer and everything was like, half of it was completely unavailable, half of what was in the list, half, it was just they didn't sell, they didn't make yet, so you kind of had to build your own stuff. Like, then there's kind of like Necromunda, where everything was just, you built it out of whatever you could find. But now, the thought of making something that I can't duplicate really stresses me out, and I don't know why. So I kind of get it. Like, but it's really rewarding when you make your own one individual thing, though, right?
It is. It's super rewarding. You kind of look at it and think, I have that, and no one else in the world has that.
And
unless someone else has actually had the same idea, because it's not that original idea. But I like it. So
yeah, that's wicked. What's next on the painting? What's next on the paint table?
As soon as I get that done, I'm going straight onto the College of Fire. There's something we will talk about later, which is probably obvious because it's a College of Fire on a Blood Bowl podcast. And yeah, so I'm going to jump on that at the end of this week and try and get that done really fast. I've done a couple of test models now, so I've got the scheme in mind, and I've got a couple of ways to speed up as well. So it'll be fun.
Absolutely fantastic. I have done very little hobby. One thing I have done is print out a lot of stuff. So I've got my College of Beasts team printed. I've printed a bunch of the Brute Fun lizards because that was what people requested for the next printer pitch. And I went to Games Workshop to buy some contrast paints, and yeah, got some contrast paints, got some very expensive primer, and it was all right. I also got silver because I was like, we've got this 8mm heresy stuff brewing up, and I was like, if I'm going to do Night Lords, I kind of just want to spray them silver and use a blue contrast and have it magically painted. It didn't work at all. I bought the Games Workshop silver. Yeah, it just was garbage. Absolute garbage.
Can just didn't work.
No, the can worked. It sprayed it silver, and then I put the contrast paint over it, and it just was rubbish. Like,
wow, okay.
Yeah, really gutted. I had some random BattleTech stuff that I'd printed, and I was like, hey, I'm going to actually paint some BattleTech. This is going to be cool. And it was garbage. So I'm going to get across to Entoyment soon. and buy some of the Army Painter speed paint stuff, see if that works, because I really do not want to be highlighting individual 8mm dudes. That's just, I'm not okay with that. What I want to do is spray them a color and then paint the contrast on, and then have them basically be painted like that. That's my goal. That's my absolute goal. I've even gone to the extent of making the bases with holes in for the Marines. Okay, so the textured bases, you just stick the Marines in, and maybe I'll put a little bit of sand. I mean, realistically, I'm probably not going to bother. I'll just put a little bit of static grass over it, and it blends in. Like, job's a good one. So yeah, did some printing. That was nice. And then last week I have achieved very little outside of sleep. I haven't really even eaten much, which is weird. Although I have lost 5 pounds. That's quite good. So yeah, but that's just out of not doing anything. That's been cool. And yeah, got my new job, which is wicked.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, thank you. I'm proper chuffed with that. It's a year project, so that's really good. Although I'm now in the transition space where I've got 2 jobs and a 3rd job technically as well, because I'm on a secondment from a secondment. So
it's not much going on there.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. The actual project that we're going to be working on is massive. Like, it's monumentally massive, and it's basically like software design as well. It's just I'm just in this absolute realm space that I'm not qualified for at all, and yet I'm well in there, and I understand what I'm doing. It's wicked. It's so good. Everyone's like, "Oh, where did you go to uni?" And I went to no university. And they're like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "But we need to do this now." And they're like, "Yes, we do." I'm like, "That's right. Let's do this. Let's go." Leroy Jenkins, software design for a big company, is hilarious. But don't tell anyone. You can write whatever you like on your CV. No one will ever question it. It's fine. Yeah, no. So that's good. That's been really good. And Tiff has just been absolutely binging Nintendo games on multiple Switches, which has been nice. That's kind of her life at the moment. And she's getting back into Animal Crossing videos and stuff. She texted me earlier. She was like, "Can you teach me how to edit?" I'm like, "Yes," because I keep joking like that she should quit her job and just edit Blood Bowl videos for me. And I think I'm one step closer now. I'm just one bad day for her at work away from her quitting and becoming a full-time editor. I'm like,
that would be great. Double the content. You just focus on filming.
Exactly. It'd be so good. It'd be so good. And then what else we got? Oh yeah, working on stuff for Dorset Dungeon Bowl. I'm very close to getting the stuff printed. All the dungeons are designed. All the graphics are done. I'm just trying to get a proof printed and sent, but the company doesn't do it, so it's kind of like a £300 gamble for the pictures. But you know, I think we might just do it. It'll be fine. I'm just worried that like there's gloss and then there's super gloss. And...
I know. We've played on some that are just like a bit too glossy.
I'm worried that they might be a bit glossy. But you can't get matte double-sided print. It's all really aggravating, and I think it'll be fine. As long as people can play on them, which they absolutely will be able to play on them, then that's all that matters, really. If it's a bit shiny, it's a bit shiny.
If there's a spare, we could test the corner of them with some matte varnish or something. Who knows?
That's it. Yeah, that's well. I kind of wanted to be able to film with them, and that's why it's not really a thing, right? Because if you play like D&D battle mats, they're all technically gloss, right? None of them are produced.
Oh yeah, those yeah.
And you know what? They work just fine. Like, it's fine. You can play games on them and have a great time, and it's no problem. And even the Dungeon Bowl tiles are pretty glossy. Like, we got quite a bit of reflection. Even the blooming Blood Bowl pitches are a little bit shiny. So that's quite cool. So that's all ready to go. We're a couple of months out now, which is very exciting. I am super psyched. If you're interested in coming to Dorset Dungeon Bowl, we've got less than 10 tickets left. So jump in there and book them up, because there is a hard cap because it is at Entoyment, and because of the size of the pitches, it is capped at 40 because there's going to be not really any space beyond that. So yeah, if you want to come and win a trophy, we're going for the biggest Dungeon Bowl event in the South, and possibly the only, but that's fine. Then, you know, could be cool, could be prestigious, could be wicked.
I'm excited for this. This is going to be such a laugh.
I'm so excited. Like, this is just something special. And like 11s is great, 7s is better, but this is unique. This is really something special. We've set the dungeons, we've built that. It's just going to be really great fun. And that's what we're talking about on the podcast today. So, games. Oh, have you played? You've played 40k. You played a game.
I did have a game of 40k against Ian. Yeah,
yeah.
The alternate activation thing, which is like little rule set me and some friends brewed up. Don't know if I've spoken about that on the podcast, but yeah, it's just basically it's 40k 9th edition, but you activate units alternately, and there's a couple of little rules changes to allow for that. And it's been in the works for a few years since 8th edition, and yeah, Ian was just like, "Hey, can I give that a try? Because I'm interested in trying 40k in different ways." And was like, "That's not like you." And I the game against him and crushed his dreams.
You
usually happens when I play Ian with 40k.
Every time you play Ian.
I don't mean to. I had my list because all the stuff I painted. I'm just like, yeah, I'm excited to use the stuff I painted. And he brought his list, which is like the basic Marines that have like bolt guns against all my vehicles. And I'm just like, oh, I should have just brought boys. I should have just brought orc boys. It would have been more fun for him. But I need to stop doing this. Every time I play Ian, I accidentally have a list which just
counters everything he wants to do, which is hilarious. Like,
I sent him my list first, but then he took Ultramarine.
Yeah. Everything you painted versus everything he painted, and Rock destroyed Scissors. And but I love you.
It was fun. It was fun, and he enjoyed it. And the thing with alternate activation is that you still get a chance to play the game. It's not like wait for the opponent to take their first turn, kill all your stuff, and then give up.
Is that a humble brag to say it would have been worse if you played with the real rules?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
Oh, Games Workshop, just making great games. Anyway, one game that is genuinely great is Blood Bowl, and we are going to move over now to the biggest Blood Bowl event ever, probably, and that is going to be the NAF World Cup 2023. And the biggest event ever in Blood Bowl history was the World Cup 4. Now we are headed into 2023 next year, and it should be the World Cup 5. And if you look at the growth of the World Cups between years, I think the first one had 270 something players, and then it went up, and then it went up, and then they had 1400, I think, in the last one in Dornberg. Now Ben and I were going to go through the NAF forum because there's a really good breakdown of the process and how it happens and timelines. Unfortunately, the NAF website, renowned for their tech savvy, has had an error 500. So we are still going to talk about the World Cup. It's going to be from memory on this one, so it won't be a massive segment. Now,
and I haven't seen it, so this is going to be quite a challenge.
No, this was our opportunity to kind of talk through what happens with the NAF and the World Cup and what's coming up, and then Ben could ask questions because he's not been involved. And to be fair, I wasn't involved with the World Cup. So we'll start at the top. BT, the NAF is a player association for Blood Bowl that was really big and really important to the continuing kind of being aliveness of Blood Bowl. Obviously, Games Workshop are kind of moving into a position of power, and there's a load more Blood Bowl players that are coming in via Games Workshop now than through the kind of Mason chapters of the NAF as it used to be. Now, I started Blood Bowl in the original edition and then came back for a bit and then went away again, and then kind of it sparked when the 2016 set came back for me. That's when it got really, it's when I really fell into it. And you kind of a few years after that?
Yeah, about 2019. Yeah.
So you kind of joined through Games Workshop as opposed to Blood Bowl,
essentially.
Yeah, and obviously us at Wobble tricked you into it. Most importantly of all, so the NAF is a player association, and every 4 years there is a Blood Bowl World Cup. And this is the bit where I try to remember from memory, and I didn't copy it into the show notes because I was like, it's fine, we'll just have the thread up and we can talk through it on screen. Anyway, every 4 years there is a World Cup. The last one was run by Torsten, and it was in Dornberg, and like I said, they had 1,400. Dornbirn. Thank you. That yeah, well done. That's good. That's good. See, by memory.
Some World Cup knowledge.
Yeah. And the way it works from a bidding process is that if you want to host the World Cup, you have to put together a business case, essentially, to the NAF to say, hey, this is where we want to host it. This is what's available. This is what the prices are likely to be. This is how we're going to run the event. This is what we can provide. And the NAF, I think there's a group of quite a few. I can't remember if it's 30 or 60 people are going to vote based on these bids. Now, in the last session, and this is one thing that is in the NAF thing that I was going to look at as well, they hosted some of the like older bids. I went through and looked a little while ago because there was an absolute cracking one for the Isle of Wight a few years ago. It might have been the one before, it might have been the last one. I know, Ben, I know. I was like, this would be perfect. And then
so near.
Just after the last World Cup, Rob, Secret Carnage Rob, was working together with some Welsh players to put together a bid for Wales. Now, the apocalypse has hit and everything really has changed. And when I say the apocalypse in this regard, I do mean coronavirus. But there was a huge backlash from the last World Cup, which I did want to go through because it is really important that we go through it. But we'll stick to the World Cup at the moment. I was expecting to see Isle of Wight. I was expecting to see Wales. And you know what? There were only 2 bids made. And it is Lyon in France and Alicante in Spain. So those are the 2 bids that have been put forward. Now, timeline-wise, I believe voting starts for the NAF, not general populace, but the NAF kind of selected, the NAF selection committee. I don't know if that's what they're called, but that's what they're called now. Will make the choice, and I think it's published on the 13th of March. So this podcast is coming out on the 5th of March, so I wanted to get this out now because this is kind of a prelude. Now, when it comes round to the selection being made and it being published, hopefully we'll have a bit more detail on the bid and everything like that, so we can talk about it on the next episode. And believe me, we will be going after the organisers to get them on to talk through what's going to be great, because we missed out on the World Cup because we're kind of just getting into Blood Bowl on a medium level and weren't necessarily well up for spending a couple of grand to go and play Blood Bowl. That's not... Yeah, it's a huge investment. I am there now. You know, the channel is there now, I think, where this is something that I just... It can't be missed if you can attend it. And I think the difficulty was the last time the World Cup came around, we kind of got super into Blood Bowl with less than a year to go. So we were like, oh, there's a World Cup going on later this year. That's pretty cool. Didn't realise that it was going to be 1,400 players. You know, this World Cup, I would imagine it will be 2,000, you know. But we should know more around about the 13th. But it will either be Alicante in Spain or Lyon in France. So... Both
awesome locations, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, they both look really, really nice, and the stuff that's around there looks really, really nice. There's a couple of things from a NAF point of view that has to happen at the World Cup, essentially, and that was what that thread was. And I wanted to kind of go through it, but from memory, it's got to be 3 days, got to be 9 rounds. It is a team tournament. So we'll talk more about what happened last time, I think, in a minute, because I think it's really important to do that. So it has to be 3 days, has to be 9 rounds, and what else is there? They've put a stipulation there that it should be around about September, but there was a bit of chatter from the Lyon group, like, how fixed on that are you? So I don't know what they've got planned. The bids are secret until they're published. So we could see somewhere, I think August would be terrible. Like either of these places. Yeah,
summer holiday, right?
Summer holiday.
Their peak destination for summer.
Yeah.
Summer trips.
You know, September, October, I think is probably a really great point in time. Like And
it's also worth noting, even that time of year, both these places are going to be hot.
Yes.
So,
yeah, which is good and bad. You know, it might be nice to be warm. It might be horrible to be warm as a gamer.
The venue is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Alicante is kind of southern Spain. Like, it's just across the water from Algiers. You know, it's it's good. Oh, God, it looks nice though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it will be nice.
And this is it. Like, the World Cup is not just about Blood Bowl. Like, this is a very long way to go to play 3 days of Blood Bowl. Like, I was so impressed with people traveling down to Bournemouth to play 2 days of Blood Bowl. Right? I think that's awesome. I think that's okay. That's a few £100 for a good weekend away of game. Like, that's cool to go play games and come home. If you're traveling abroad to go to a tournament, it goes beyond a tournament at that point. And talking it through with Tiff's like, I'm coming. Like, let's go. Like, let's turn this into a holiday. Let's take the week off. Let's go. Let's spend some nice time. I can mooch around, or, you know, while you're at the tournament. And I don't know. It seems like an adventure, like an actual real. I don't want to say once in a lifetime, because I'm hoping that this is a 4-yearly thing, but that might be just where my head is. You know, we've just got married last year. Within the next 4 years, is it likely that I'm gonna be able to go away with Tiff to play Blood Bowl? We may have a kid. You know, it was 4 years. You know, we may have 2 kids. Kind of hope not.
Some hobby progress.
What if we have twins? What if we try and have kids and we end up having twins? Man, what if we had triplets? Like, there's no chance we're going to the World Cup. You know, 4 years.
That's an in-house tournament.
Yeah, and it will be. Trust me.
Yeah.
But I mean, 4 years is a massive amount of time. 1 year, well, 1.5 years out now. So this is looking to be around September time, and it's looking to be in either France or Spain. I assume they have to go with one. We'll talk about the last World Cup and some of the difficulties that were had in there. But I mean, Ben, what's your initial thoughts about traveling to a different country to play in a Blood Bowl tournament, a game tournament, any tournament?
I'd love to. I'd absolutely love to. I just think it would be so awesome to meet people from around the world who play this hobby, because it is such a global hobby. I mean, you get people from like America's coming here, you get people from Asia going there, and obviously all of the countries in Europe where it's a huge deal, and in both the countries, France and Spain, Blood Bowl has a huge presence.
It really, I think it really does. I think those are probably the two.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might be bigger in America. I'm not sure, actually.
I'm not sure, to be fair. It's big. Like, I definitely know, like, it is big there, and I think, just in terms of the destinations, I mean, I've been to Alicante a few times. I've been to France many times. I've specifically been to Lyon, but absolutely beautiful places. And just being in that whole new environment with a whole bunch of new people, I just think that's awesome. It's awesome. It's so cool to have this. I use cool relatively. We all know how cool it is. But it's just so cool to have this as like a sport, like an actual world sport. Like, this doesn't happen with a lot of things, and Blood Bowl is still a relatively niche hobby, it feels, in times.
It's a niche part of a niche hobby.
Yeah, exactly. But to have a World Cup for it, I think that's incredible. And NAF do have their there's some rough edges with the NAF. There's some things that have gone on in previous things, which would, but I think it's just fantastic that they're still doing this, because what a way to celebrate the hobby, and at a time that's obviously a little bit like, you know, the world's coming together for other reasons, some pretty serious reasons. I think, like, it's just awesome that people can gather over this.
I completely agree. Like, Blood Bowl is so feudal. Like, when it comes to leagues and the way we do things, and the way we do things at my league, and the way we do things in our league, and the way, like, some people are, you know, old school NAF survivalists. You know, I lived through the dark age, and now we're back in this new. It's quite disparate, and every group has its own vibe. Really interesting. And then boom, you have this worldwide celebration of Blood Bowl. I think you called it exactly right, Ben. And that is just so awesome. Like, I think it's less about the competition than it is just about having a bunch of going and doing this thing. Like, awesome. I'm so up for it. Now, how do you feel about it being called the World Cup? Because it's a weird one, because you just build a team. Now, I guess this is probably the best opportunity to go and talk about how the last one went at Dornburn. I didn't go. It was, it was 3 years ago, so it was kind of like, I don't know. It was a big investment for me. Not the right time in my life to be able to go and do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a team tournament with 6 or 7 players. So you would have 6 playing players in every round. That's 9 rounds, and you could have a 7th player who could sub in. Not from a like, I think we'll run dwarves against this setup. It was just a case of, this person's playing this round, this person's not playing this round. I get, like, from an operational point of view, I think, like, I love that. I think that's so good to be able to be like, you know what, you've travelled, you may be tired, you may want to rotate a player out every round so they actually get a bit of rest, so you actually get a bit of time. That bit of flexibility I think was awesome. Team tournaments, we ran a team tournament, didn't we, where there's 4 players on the team.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
the Fobble Wobble Cup, and that was awesome. Like, that was so exciting. So team events, absolutely brilliant. Now, how this one's going to be structured, we don't know, whether it's going to be 6 players or not. Now, the reason I ask you how you feel about it being called the World Cup is because I remember that Rich didn't like the fact that it was called the World Cup because it was an open event as opposed to invitational. He was like, well, the World Cup is, like, we've got the England team and we've got the Spain team. But whereas the World Cup here, from a Blood Bowl point of view, you just build a team and sign up. You pay your money, you take your choice, you kind of sign up. And I think like it's a pointless semantic thing. I think it's the World Cup because the World Cup is the big thing in football, in soccer. And I think it's
I'm looking at their website here, and it says that, so we could get on the NAF one, but they've got a little banner on the old Dornburn website, which it was 38 countries, 6 continents, 1,429 coaches. That's a World Cup.
Yeah,
38 countries.
Absolutely. And I think that's just so cool.
Fantastic.
Now, I don't know what the format's going to be, don't know what the skills are going to be, and I don't know how that's going to work. The last World Cup had a pretty complicated build, where there were multiple tiers and multiple skills, and each day had its own kind of like, and then on day 2 you get this, and then on day 3 you get that. I think if you're playing 9 games with a team, you've got to have an element of complexity there beyond it. And I cannot wait for the announcement of the builds. Now, if you are a Blood Bowl podcast listener, there is a podcast called the World Cup Report, which is 2 of the guys from 2 of the American podcasts. And when the last World Cup went through, they broke down some great rosters for every one of the races, given the skills, and it was awesome. Really great podcast. 10 out of 10 recommended. If you're excited for the World Cup, just go back and listen to the old edition if it's still out, because it's really good fun. We will be doing the same thing because it's exciting. We're going to look at the build, we're going to look at the teams, we're going to look at some example rosters because it is such a cool thing. So it'll be a team-based event. It'll be 9 games, probably, over 3 days. We don't know what the build's going to be. We don't know what the rules are going to be. We don't know what the timings are going to be. We don't know what the location's going to be. But it's going to be really exciting. Now, can you imagine running an event for 2,000 gamers? Because let's be realistic, right? It was 1,400 last time. The world has got worse now, but Blood Bowl has got bigger. And even though I think the world has got worse, I still think that the Blood Bowl getting bigger and the fact that we've all been inside for 2 years is kind of going to be like, you know what? Let's do this special thing. And I think we'll see more growth than we will, like staticness to it. I don't know. What do you think? What's your prediction for the amount of players in this one?
I would expect it to be more. People purely because of the new edition and the fact that we've all been kind of stuck inside for a while and desperate to get abroad. And I think this is a good excuse to do that.
Yeah, that was Tiff's
At least it is for both me and you. Yeah, oh, and your wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if your wife is coming to a Blood Bowl tournament, that shows how desperate times are.
And the old bids that I looked through were really, really well put together. They were like, hey, and if you're bringing other halves and families, this is all the stuff that goes on while you're gaming. Really cool. Like the way they put the bids together last time, so important.
They seem to partner with like tourist companies and things like that as well.
Yeah,
don't they?
I think the France,
the last one was.
I think the Leon bid. I saw a couple of bits that they posted. They've done a really good job on their social media. They posted about them potentially partnering up with a beer company, which is dangerous, but also
that's fantastic.
Awesome,
yeah,
right? Now
supply some cakes. That'd be fantastic.
They both got Facebook pages, and they're both selling on the angle of like the location's gorgeous, the food's amazing. There's a load of touristy stuff to do around there, and you know what? That's all super important if you're running a big event. That was probably one of the downsides about the big event we ran, is that there was some stuff, but it was closed because it was February, and we, even the noodle house that we went to was so busy.
Bournemouth is really nice when it's not grey and raining.
Yeah, it was kind of horrid. I imagine that Leon or Alicante in the end of summer gonna be pretty swish. Now, running an event for 2,000 plus Blood Bowlers is a monstrous task, and there were some really great lessons learned from the last World Cup, and the chap who ran it, Torsten, put together a really great after action report, just sort of detailing some of the stuff that went wrong. And the most important thing to remember, and this I think is why we've only seen 2 bids, is because this is like all there is no money to be made running Blood Bowl events. Okay, every time we run a Blood Bowl event, we lose hundreds of pounds. Running a Blood Bowl event for 2,000 people, tens of thousands of pounds. Okay, so you've got volunteers, and it's just all being run by people who want to make something special, to make an event special. And Torsten broke down some of the difficulties they had last time with the software and the preparation. And you know what, I'm reading through it and I'm like, yeah, we've had that happen at our tournament when we had 80 people. Is there a problem with software? Not exactly, but actually you have to, someone's dropped out, someone's turned up in someone else's place, someone's turned up with a different roster and you don't know why, and you've got that, and then multiply it by 50, right? So they had some difficulties with that. There was some skill ring issues last time that I imagine we won't see repeated this time. Awesome idea. The whole idea was like, actually, you know what? We are playing in a multilingual setting. Ben, you and I, we go play at the World Cup. We're going to be playing against somebody who doesn't speak English and I don't speak their language. Although whether we go to France or whether we go to Spain, I will learn French or Spanish. I love languages.
You'll learn it.
I will learn it to a good standard.
Fluently. You've got 18 months
but
to speak.
Somewhere between fluent and English tourists just being louder. Okay, so
we'll take lessons together and then we'll do a podcast in that language.
Do you know what? I think that would be amazing. And we've actually a couple of Germans have actually said that as well. Like some of our German listeners are like, do it in German. I'm like, I just offend you all with my terrible German. Also, Deutsch.
Lost the German in year 9.
I love German. German's a great language, but I don't know, Spanish would be great. French would be great. It could be really cool, and I think that's a great little shout. And we'll do a segment in whichever language, just one segment, maybe hobby, something like that in the language. Anyway, complete by the by. It's just a really
you paint a team in time, let alone learn a language.
Languages are easier. That's what commuting time's all about. Not that either of us commute really anymore. No, Duolingo. It's amazing. Anyway, this is just so special, and it's a big event. If you're running this is a huge undertaking, and these people are doing it for the love of it, and that must be the most important thing that we remember. When we run a Blood Bowl tournament, it doesn't go as well as we want it to. We disappoint, I don't know, a couple of people, right, out of 100. When you've got 2,000 people, if you disappoint a couple of people out of 100, you've disappointed 50 people. That's not good maths, but that's the kind of vibe you get, right? And it's big. And I don't know about you, man, but every time you do anything, there are a bunch of people that think it's great, and there are always people who think it's not good, that could be better. And actually, we've got to be really aware going into this World Cup that it is not professional. This is not Wizards of the Coast running an event. This is players getting together and running something monumental. And we need to just, this is probably the biggest lesson from the last World Cup, is that this is a player run volunteer event. No one's making any money out of this. This is a game day that you're sharing. And I would love to be involved in running a World Cup, but it is just, I can't comprehend, like,
daunting.
You know, I do a lot of big project work at work, but you do that with a lot of big project teams and big project money. This is Blood Bowl. There's no money to be made, and there's only fun to be had. That sounds really corny, but...
and there's only so much time in the day to do it. Like, this isn't like, if it was full time like work, that would make sense. But you know, even though we do this podcast in spare time, and yeah, I mean, you do this podcast and videos and editing on top of that, so it's a lot to handle.
That'd be a sweet
so
career
it's
if
a
it
vast
could be.
undertaking for everyone.
But yeah, the World Cup is going to be monstrous and so exciting. But I guess, and I don't want to finish on a negative note, but also last time 1,400 people went. How many people do you think play Blood Bowl, Ben? You know,
I remember this kicking off. So I was still quite new to Blood Bowl at the time, but I remember this being pretty.
It was
pretty vocal.
It was a big flashpoint, because I think there was I think it was a really difficult point in the NAF's existence, because there was so much fresh blood, and the NAF was just this thing that people did not understand. You know, all of us kind of came back to it. And I used to be a member of the NAF. I don't really remember why, because someone signed me up at a tournament and I got some sweet dice. So I was like, yeah, all right, I'll have some dice, thank you. And then, you know, like, if you look at Wobble, like 20, 30 coaches, 4 NAF, maybe 5 NAF, like, and it's kind of like, that's a huge proportion of people that are like, who are these people running the World Cup? Like, why are they this? Why is it bad? Like, what is going on? And I think there was this definite view that something called the World Cup, being run by an organization, was going to be an esports event run by a team of people that put on promotional events. It's not. This is for gamers, by gamers, and that was definitely not understood by a lot of the people coming in. And this is why we're going to be talking about the World Cup as it goes along, is because if you want to go. If you can afford it, you've got time, go. But you are going to go play at a tournament run by some dudes that love Blood Bowl. You are not going to be playing in an official esports, T-sports event. It's going to feel like it. It's going to be costed like it. I think that's probably a really big thing that happened last time, is they were like, it cost me, you know, it cost our team like $1,000 to sign up, and then 10 grand to travel, you know, and it's just a tournament. Well, yeah, it is just a tournament. So, and this is why I didn't go last time, is because I was like, hang about, that's a load of money to go play Blood Bowl. I can play Blood Bowl at home. Well, that was me. That's my view. Was very different, and my view is very different now. But 1,400 people went last time. We've got 10,000 viewers on YouTube, 10,000 subscribers, and there's 25,000 people signed up to the Facebook group. There's got to be, I don't know, 250,000 Blood Bowl players out there. Casuals, regulars, you know, maybe 500,000. That's what, 3% of Blood Bowlers went last time. So don't worry about being one of the 98% of people that don't go to the World Cup. Like, if you can't afford it, if it doesn't work for you, it's Blood Bowl is Blood Bowl, and hanging out and going to tournaments is great no matter where you go. So if you're just coming out of pool, you know, if you're coming to one of our events, if you're going to the NAF Championship, they're all special independent events. And if you can't make it to the World Cup, don't worry about it. There'll be coverage, there'll be stories, there'll be pictures, and if you miss out, it's just 3 days of Blood Bowl. But if you can go, you will be part of something that is incredibly unique, and it's also very special. But you know, it's just, it's not what you'd want it to be. I'd want this to be run by Games Workshop once a year and have it be properly done, and I want Sean Plott day 9 to be there with Marshall Sutcliffe doing coverage. But Blood Bowl is not that. Blood Bowl is a game you play with friends, and this is going to be a gamer run event for gamers by gamers. It just happens to be a really big one in a really cool place, and that's the most important thing to remember, I think. Sorry to be a bit of a not a downer, but I think this is a case of, this is not like the Pro Tour for Magic. This is just an awesome
100%
gamer event. Now, Ben, you're going. Let's assume we make it. Let's assume it all ties in nicely. It runs ahead. We go. From a player point of view, what would you want out of the event?
Oh God, I think I'd like an opportunity to just sort of like talk to a lot of people. Like, it's because this is something which, like, just having the different, like we said earlier, but all these different countries, just to sort of like see like how they play, or like how they painted their teams. Like, I know there's good painters all across the world, but you do seem to find some of the stuff that comes out of like Spain and Italy. Miniature painting is just phenomenal, and I think I'd like to see all these like teams, and just I just want to go around talking to people, seeing their teams, getting painting tips, getting playing tips, all that kind of thing. I think it would just be, it's just a big social opportunity. I'm just desperate to.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one thing from Magic events that I thought was really good that maybe could translate, you know, you've got 2,000 coaches. If they use, right, well, team events, dropouts are a huge issue, right? If you've got a team of 6 and it's a 6-man team event, some teams might have 7 if they're going to go for that route and have a spare, so that if one of them's ill or hungover, they can't play. But you're going to have to manage this odd man out situation. So there's going to be a lot of coaches that either are waiting for a game or are on a bye, okay, that don't get to play. Side events are done so well in Grand Prix for Magic the Gathering. You can go, you can play. If you don't make day 2 or something, but you're there for the weekend, you can go and take place in a side event. One thing I think would be awesome is a zone where you can play 7s. So if you don't get a game, if you drop out, if you know your opponent doesn't turn up, or you know whatever, or you're the spare man or something, actually have a little mini 7s event going on along the side. Actually, you know what, guys, I'll sit this round out. I've got 2 hours. I'll go play a game of 7s. Just have that little side event, because you might just, I don't know, in Magic the Gathering Grand Prix, you know, you could go, you could play in the standard event, but they'd also have like drafts going on and sealed events going on. If you're like
Commander. Yeah,
exactly. So you know what, I lost. I'm done. You know, I've got 2 hours before the next round. Let's go have a draft. Let's go play a game of 7s. I don't know. Let's go play a Dungeon Bowl game. I just think there's so much fun stuff around Blood Bowl.
I like how the attitudes of us, this hobby, are so different. Like, you ask me, like, what do you want to get out of it? I'm just like, I just want to see people and their toys. And you're like, right, logistics is, if this event happens, how can we address that and how can we make it entertaining? Like, and I'm just like, toys.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is fair.
Really toys.
But you know, you travel to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Right. I work with a guy called Jim. He was at Beachhead. He didn't play Blood Bowl because he's a fool. He played in the Age of Sigmar tournament. He went 0-3 on day 1 and then turned up on day 2, as you should. And his first game was a bye because his opponent didn't turn up, because I went 0-3 on day 1 and turned up and I'm not going to bother. So James then spent 3.5 hours doing nothing. Now, he was hungover, so Jim was like, you know what, this is fine. Like, first opponent didn't show up. I can just go get some breakfast, chill out, go look at people's models and have a nice time, see what's going on, go chat with Ben, you know, on the Blood Bowl side, you know. And then Jim rocked up to round 5, and his opponent didn't turn up again, so he got another bye. So Jim spent his entire day 2, that's 2 matches, that's 6 hours of his life doing nothing. And that's money that he paid. That's time that he hasn't travelled because he lives in Bournemouth, but you know, he'd still taken time out to do that. And if you're playing in the World Cup, 9 games, you know what, if you have to skip 1 game, you know what, there are going to be a ton of people that are like, you know what, that's fine, you know, it's game 7, I've won 1 game, that's absolutely fine, like I don't mind, like I'll just go sit and drink myself happy, or you know, that's okay. But just you got a budget for those buy situations, for those player drop situations, and that is a massive logistic issue that I don't know. And you know, Ben, you and I are games masters, right? We are dungeon masters. That's who we are. We build things that don't exist so that people have things that don't exist that are real. We're world builders, and I want people to be able to do stuff. You know, if I'm going to travel to Lyon, I don't want to not. I'm going to go there to play Blood Bowl, and you've got to have stuff going on, and that's probably a really.
That is very true.
That's I think one of the bits of feedback from the World Cup last time was like, we've travelled a really long way to do this, and it's gone wrong, and I've just spent 4 hours waiting for stuff, and that's not great because I've travelled this far. I mean, I felt bad that there's, you know, some people who travelled like a couple of hours, you know, for our tournament, and there was like a 5-minute delay into one of the rounds. I was like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. Like, I've killed these people's families. This is terrible. You know, that's how I felt emotionally. But, you know, imagine that they traveled from around the world, and instead of having 3 games on one day, it goes down to 2 because of massive issues and stuff. Like, it's just, that's the stressor for me. That's, I guess, why I go straight into logistics. I don't know, man. This just makes me want to run the 2027 World Cup. But I feel like that would be bad, but also would be amazing. And we could do it in the UK, and even if Europe hates us.
There's time to consider that. That's a lot of planning.
Yeah. A lot of planning, and potentially children in the meantime. I don't know. Just have to like keep buying cats to buy myself time. Yeah, interesting one. But I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to see who wins. I don't care who wins. They both look like great people. They've both got great companies backing them up as well, which is pretty cool. Last time, I think every World Cup, or the last couple of World Cups, they've had a custom team designed for the World Cup as well, which is pretty sweet. So you can, you know, get your ticket and get your World Cup team. Like, that's something pretty good. Fanath has signed up to support the Alicante bid, so I guess I'm leaning a bit towards that, because Fanath do some real good stuff, and if Fanath make a World Cup team, I'm going to want to buy that team because I love Fanath. In fact, they dispatched the High team.
Definitely.
So that should be coming soon. That'll be exciting. So World Cup, we don't know anything more than that, not really right now, but it's going to be a big gamer event run by great gamers just for a great game, and that's enough. That's more than enough. You know, this is a party, not a conference, and I think that's something we've all got to be really, really, really aware of, because you know what, guys, parties are kind of fun, so that's great. Anyway, that's enough, I think, for the World Cup for now, until next episode, where hopefully we'll know more detail and we can hopefully grab some of the organisers and get them on. But I think, Ben, should we move on?
Let's move on.
All right. Okay, so Blood Bowl is many things to many people. You've got the hobby aspect, you've got the RPG story franchise character building aspect of League, and then you've got constructed play. And as far as rule sets go, it's a pretty tight rule set. There's some glaringly obvious FAQ issues, but actually it's probably only about 3% of the rules. So as far as Games Workshop games go, as far as competitive games go, Blood Bowl is in a pretty good place.
Mhm.
And when it comes to constructed stuff, it's the best way to jam a bunch of games. Don't even think about a tournament as a tournament unless you're playing to really win. Think of it as a game day. And we are hosting something that we're super excited about in 2 months' time on the 7th of May, Saturday the 7th of May. We are hosting the Dorset Dungeon Bowl down at Entoyment. And this is just, I'm just so excited about it. We're going to gush about it. I'm going to gush about it. But I guess the best thing to preface it is that it is a 3-game, 1-day Dungeon Bowl tournament. We're going to talk through the rules pack. We're going to talk about how it came around. But I'm just going to jump straight in, Ben. I was so excited for Dungeon Bowl to land. And then it did. I think we even talked about it in our predictions last year, right? And
Yeah, we did.
I flippantly threw it out there like, oh, I'd love to see Dungeon Bowl come back. And then boom, it landed. The box was marginally lackluster. The rules were fine. But the game itself is something special. And Ben, we managed to get a game in, well, before the release date, I think. And I feel like you quite liked it.
I love it. Like, it was a weird game, but I think it embodied everything I wanted it to be, and it kind of, there were things I thought it was going to be and then didn't think it was going to be, and yeah, but it's just I enjoyed every second of it, and it's kind of like made me want to replace regular Blood Bowl with playing that for a bit because I just find it so themey, so much fun, so goofy.
And you are in luck. So Dungeon Bowl is Blood Bowl Underground, and I mean, it varies from Blood Bowl in a bunch of different ways. First of all, there's only one touchdown. To get the ball to do the touchdown, you have to run through a dungeon. There's a dungeon. You have to open treasure chests. There are treasure chests. A lot of them are bombs. One of them is the ball. And then using your guile and teleporters, there are also teleporters, you have to get to your opponent's end zone and score the touchdown. And the first one to score 1 touchdown wins. And you don't even start with all your players on the pitch. You start with 6 and then can bring one on every turn via a teleporter. And the game itself, the mechanics are Blood Bowl, but this is literally such a unique experience when it comes to Blood Bowl. Every game is the same. Every decision is really different. And I think, I don't know about you, Ben, but I like Blood Bowl because generally speaking, you are creating a story. And, you know, when it comes to a game of Blood Bowl, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of tropes. Okay, there's a similar trope. It's the 2-turn touchdown score drive. It's the cage up trope. When it comes to Dungeon Bowl, the story is similar, but the map, the positions, the order, where the ball is, the teleporter randomness, it plays out. And every time you play a game of Dungeon Bowl, you come away going, that was weird and different.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just oozing with character, and that's just...
So Dungeon Bowl first came out in 1988, which is amusing because this is episode 88 and I was born in 88.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay.
So I know, the trifecta of F8s there. And it was different then. They've brought it back, they've got tiles, and we get now, because it is official, because Games Workshop have landed it, because they've brought it back almost to the masses. You can't get the book on its own, you can't get the tiles on its own, and if you buy the box, you're going to end up with some models you probably already have. Like, that was a bit of a letdown. Now, those are things that we absolutely faced into when it came to designing this tournament, right, Ben? Because those are some genuine, I want to say concerns, but those are factors. The factors were that there are Dungeon Bowl teams, and the Dungeon Bowl teams are mixed teams in a way. It's not a case of choosing 2 teams. It's a case of choosing the college list. Now, we didn't necessarily want just colleges, did we, Ben?
No, I think having just colleges does restrict people somewhat. We want people to be able to come to this not thinking like, oh, I need to make a college team, because they can be quite like prohibitive to make. If you're on like a budget and you want like a decent college team, it can run you a fair bit of money having to get like source each of the miniatures from various sources, especially if you don't have access to like a printer. Yeah, so essentially, if you just have a Blood Bowl team and you want to play Dungeon Bowl, this is probably a really good way to do it, because you can just bring a regular standard Blood Bowl team.
And that is
Dungeon.
That is exactly it. So this event, if you have a Blood Bowl team, you can come and play Dungeon Bowl. And that was something that was really important to us when we were kind of thinking about how can we do this. When you play Dungeon Bowl at home, you've got to have a team. Now, if you're playing friendly, you can run just a regular team against another regular team. But if you want to play Dungeon Bowl, if you're thinking and picking up Dungeon Bowl and going, I would like to play Dungeon Bowl, you're thinking, I'm going to need a college team and I'm going to need a dungeon. And yeah, right. Well, we are taking 2 of those things away. We are providing dungeon maps. We've got 2 on the day. First and third round will be 1 map. The second round will be the other side. We've got double-sided dungeons being printed so that we can provide the map. So you don't need a dungeon to be able to play Dungeon Bowl in the Dorset Dungeon Bowl. And then, like you just said, Ben, we did not want everyone to go, I don't want to have a college team because I'm going to need at least an extra box of dudes. And then I'm going to play College of Life because I like the idea of having leap dudes in a dungeon. That's wicked, except I'm going to need Nurgle and Snotlings and Halflings and Wood Elves. And that's 4 teams. And no. You can bring a college team. If you're excited about Dungeon Bowl and being able to mix your teams up and build a new roster, you can. We're allowing college teams, but we're also allowing regular teams. So if you've never played Dungeon Bowl before, you can come and compete. If you've just got X team because that's the only team you like playing and you love running them at tournaments, or you're just starting out and I've got nobility because I started with nobility, bring it. We're good to go. And I think that's such I don't know, Ben, it's the bit of a like first try is free.
Yeah, essentially, it's a really good opportunity to try Dungeon Bowl, even if you just want to debut it.
And that's kind of what we want this to be. This is not just a championship for Dungeon Bowl. This is a kind of celebration of the game format. Whether you want to win, whether you want to play Dungeon Bowl, whether you just want to play Blood Bowl and do something different, the Dorset Dungeon Bowl is absolutely here for you for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk through the rules pack. We're going to just talk about Dungeon Bowl and kind of how it plays and some of the great bits about it. So it is going to be on Saturday the 7th of May at Entoyment, and it's going to be kicking off at 9:45 in the morning. So Entoyment in Poole is my favourite game shop. It's just, I think, probably the best game shop I've been to. Downstairs is just a veritable dragon's cave of stuff that you can buy of all descriptions, board games, toys, historical stuff. It's just wicked. And then upstairs they've got a ton of gaming space. But Ben, the best thing for me about Entoyment is the fact that they've got little QR codes on every table. I love this so much. So you go to a tournament, you go to a game shop, you're like, right, where am I going to eat? Where's there to go? How do I get a drink? They've got a nice cafe area downstairs in Entoyment. They do hot food. You can just be playing a game, go, I'm hungry, or I want a cup of tea. You scan the QR code and you choose what you want, and then Carl brings it to you, basically. And I just absolutely flipping love that. It's just so good for a tournament.
It is really nice. It's really just, it's a lovely atmosphere. Everyone's there. It's really nice. So yeah, I love it too.
Groovy. So yeah, it is going to be a 3-game day. Registration 9:45. First match 10:15. 2.25 hours for a match. Now Dungeon Bowl is a weird one, being that there's 1 touchdown. That's it. Now I prefer to play Dungeon Bowl with 3 balls, but that's not the technical rules, and we wanted this to be as close to the technical rules as possible because it makes it easier for people to adjust to, and I guess makes it a little bit fairer. So 2 hours 15 is what we would normally give for a full 11s match. It can be quicker, it can be longer, but there is going to be a time limit. I mean, Ben, when we played it, I don't think it was 2 hours, was it?
No, it would have been about an hour and a half, and that was learning.
Exactly, it's about an hour and a half, and I think that's probably about right. Now there will be some games that end within 45 minutes. There'll be some games that are going down to the line, and it's also a really important part of Dungeon Bowl. And when we come to the scoring, that's actually a factor. Anyway, tickets are available on our website. They're mostly gone. There's, I think, 7 or 8 left now, which is wicked. And if you're interested in coming, please let us know if the tickets are sold out, because we could probably build a little reserve list. It is Dungeon Bowl. The rules are in the Dungeon Bowl book. There are some special rules to do with Dungeon Bowl. I feel like we've done a video on Dungeon Bowl rules. We've got a couple of playthroughs. If you don't have the Dungeon Bowl book and you're interested in some of the rules, you can let us know, or we can do an extra video, or you can just watch what we've done. But I think The key things there are the treasure chests and the teleporters and how you deploy your guys, Ben. But otherwise, everything's kind of mostly Blood Bowl. The way blocking works, the way everything works. There's one rule that definitely will come up, though, that is a genuine rule, which is jumping over prone players. It's just not a rule you see in standard Blood Bowl very often. But because it's often better to run around than it is to take a 4+5+ leap. But in Dungeon Bowl,
in a corridor,
if you're in a corridor, the best thing you can do is go over their body and fail it, because you will still wake up on the other side, and that's just huge.
And also throwing balls off the wall. That's a pretty key thing.
Yes, I think we do need to do a primer video for this.
I think so. Yeah, that'd be good.
These
are different things. This is how you can do them.
Yeah. I put a special theory Thursday on, like introduction to Dungeon Bowl, the special rules that kind of, we'll do that. Maybe, I think we should definitely do that, because watch that video, listen to it, and we'll put it on the podcast feed as well. So if you're driving around, you can catch up and listen to it. Now, there's a bunch of rules in the rule book that we are not going to have to use, which is the setup of the dungeon. We've already built the dungeons. We've already placed the treasure chests. We've already placed the teleporters. Well, technically, the teleporters are placed. The treasure chests are marked, but they will be randomly distributed. You will just you will put them out. One of them is going to have the ball. The rest are going to explode in your face, which I think is a turnover, because it knocks you down. So do not do that willy-nilly, I guess, is the thing. So eligible teams. Now, Ben's already touched on this, but the Dorset Dungeon Bowl will be allowing the following rosters: all college teams in the Dungeon Bowl rulebook. So the College of Death is basically necromantic and undead without werewolves. That's the most straightforward team. There's the College of Heavens, which is basically lizard men with some humans. There's Milton's favourite, the College of Metal, which is just anything strength 4, basically. It's Black Orcs.
With Armor 10 all around.
Yeah, that's a gnarly one. There's a College of Beasts, which I'm a big fan of, where you can have 3 big guys to choose between: Minotaur, Rat Ogre, Croxagore, which is an interesting one, or the Bloodspawn. You can have up to 3 of them mixed in however you like. Ben, what's your favourite college at the moment?
I like the College of Light. I was always that really got my attention, because the first thing I heard in Dungeon Bowl was throwing the balls around walls, and this seems like the team to do it, because you get like the elf thrower, you get like the fast dudes. I think you get human catchers and elf blitzers. Yeah, so it's all pretty fast. I think you get an ability lineman too, so you can fend off in the corridor, which sounds pretty handy. Pretty handy dandy too. So yeah,
and I think the College of Fire is one of the strongest. This is tunnel fighting. What do you want in a tunnel? You want dwarves and you want big guys, and this has got ogres and dwarves mixed in with a little bit of corn. It's cool. It's really cool. Each of the college teams is pretty unique, and it gives you different options. But all standard Blood Bowl teams are also eligible. That's everything in the Blood Bowl rulebook. That's anything that's been released by a Spike magazine, and that's teams from the Teams of Legend PDF as well. So 29 other teams. So we've got 8 college teams, 29 other teams, and we're also, and this is going to be interesting, we're also allowing the Slan roster, which is a NAF only team. There were many, now there's only one, which are Space Frogs. That might be a sneaky great choice because of all the leap, the pogo stick. So but Slan are super expensive, and they are very crunchy, and you can leap and run around, but there's no open space in a dungeon. Not really.
And being pushed against the walls isn't really a great thing in this.
You are gonna get smushed. So building your team, 1 million gold. That's it. We're keeping it low. Okay, we want to give you the Dungeon Bowl experience. So when you're building a college team, you start with 1 million, not 1100 as most tournaments are gone. All teams will be allowed to spend 1 million gold pieces to draft their team. No star players. Star players aren't crazy. Risking death in a dungeon is. So no star players. So you cannot be running hack phlegm in a dungeon. This is going to be standard teams, basically. I mean, I don't know about you, Ben, but if I'm playing with a different rule set, or a funny rule set, or something that's different, extra complication with star players may not be the right thing anyway.
Yeah, and like you just said with hack phlegm as well, is that there's you can kind of cheese it with stars. Morg in a tunnel is not really fun for anyone except Morg. So, yeah.
I did kind of want to allow giants though.
But got to crouch.
Yeah, but that's incredibly questionable. So we didn't. So inducements wise, only bribes are allowed, and teams with bribery and corruption do still get them at 50k, so they do get them, but otherwise there are no inducements. Dungeon Bowl teams get rerolls at 50k. Everybody else gets standard stuff as per their team list. So there's going to be nothing fancy when it comes to things like riotous rookies. There will be no Master Chef. It is going to be a bit of a bare bones thing, but actually the challenge here is playing right. Blood Bowl, PvP. Dungeon Bowl, PvPvE. You're not just playing against the player, you're playing against the terrain element as well, I think is probably a fair description. And having that extra difficulty, not ideal. That said, we do have wizards. Now, wizards are a massive part of Dungeon Bowl. The whole point of Dungeon Bowl is that it's a competition put together by a collective of mad wizards. And this is why we're keeping the TV so low, is because in addition to the 1 million you get to build your team, every team will have access to a college wizard from the Dungeon Bowl rulebook. If you are a college team, you get that college's wizard. So if you're running College of Fire, you get the College of Fire wizard. If you are not running a college team, if you're running a standard team or slan team, you're allowed to pick a college wizard instead. Now, in the Dungeon Bowl rulebook, there are 8 different wizards. They do different stuff. The Fire Wizard blows stuff up with fire. The Shadow Wizard teleports a dude. The Beast Wizard turns a guy into a beast and just gives him straight up a 3-die block.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I'm so excited at the prospect of somebody being like, right, you know what? I'm going to take Underworld and we're going to use the College of X because I think I've got this cool combo. I've got this cool play where I can use the College of Shadow to bamf one of my gutter runners to the other side and do a clever play. It's just quite cool. So it is kind of 11.50, but you have to spend that money on a wizard. But as far as it goes, 1 million build, you get a free wizard. Now, there is a slight advantage to college teams. Now, we did this with the Bonehead Bowl. Historically, mixed teams always had a little bit of an advantage to kind of incentivize it. Now, college teams are incentivized ever so slightly. Now, it makes sense that a college team is a little bit better at playing in a dungeon because that's what they do. So to compensate for the flexibility of choosing a college wizard and to represent the experience of playing in a dungeon, all college teams will receive 1 free team reroll at the start of each match. This does not need to be rostered. So basically that means, you know, the College of Fire only gets the Fire Wizard. If you're running Ogres, you're running Skaven, you're running Wood Elves, you just get to choose. So to compensate from that, the college team gets an extra reroll, and their rerolls are 50k. So you get,
do bear that in mind if you're making a roster. You think, oh, I really need my 3rd reroll.
You're going to get free rolled one if you're running a college team. Everybody else, though, you get to choose a wizard instead. So it's interesting. There's an element of roster building in there, and as the rosters carry on, the best bit about a roster is you get to add skills. Now, there are no tiers in Dungeon Bowl. There will be tiers of players, but there are no tiering systems that are really applicable when it comes to Dungeon Bowl. So everybody gets 0 to 4 primary skills and 0 to 1 secondary skill to put on their players. No player can receive more than 1 skill. A primary skill may be selected instead of the secondary if you just want 5 primary, basically. And skills may be chosen from both the Blood Bowl rulebook or the Dungeon Bowl rulebook, because the Dungeon Bowl rulebook features some skills that are particularly useful in a dungeon. So check them out. Oh, I've got a bit of a typo there. It literally says the Dungeon Bowl rulebook features some skills particularly useful. Well, I guess that are particularly useful would have been better English. Anyway, efficient. Clearly, I ran out of space, and I was like, let's just take out half the sentence.
I didn't even catch on to that. It took me a while to read, so sure, it's fine.
5 skills. 1 million build, a wizard, and 5 skills. 36, 37 teams to choose from. And within that, there's a combo of wizard for most of those teams. So there's plenty of flexibility. Ben, you're likely to be TOing. What would your choice be if you were playing?
So I do like the light, but the first thing we're going to be painting up is fire. For something we'll talk about, or just after this segment.
Foreshadowing.
And yeah, so I'd probably choose fire. And normally, and that's a team which is quite like dwarf heavy, you've got block and stuff like that. Normally dwarves will take like guard. However, I don't think that's useful in Dungeon Bowl because your guys move around on their own so much more. Corridors are narrow. Guard doesn't help too much. I think you start seeing more skills like armbar. Honestly, that's probably not that bad
Oh, wow.
in the context of Dungeon Bowl.
Yeah, they're going to be dodging. They're going to be failing the dodges. They're
dodging around you in a corridor.
Dodging past you is going to be key. And you and I saw this when we played, wasn't it? It's a case of, I'm willing to just bomb this Skaven into the ground if it ends up on the other side of you. Well, armbar gives the ground mighty blow. So, yeah.
So I might be intrigued at trying something like that. Bit of frenzy to get like an extra troll slayer. Because, like we mentioned before, walls are really dangerous. So if you can get I think is it a push is an armor roll? A push into a wall is an armor roll?
No, a push into a wall, you then roll another dice. On a 4+, it causes an armor roll. Yeah, but still,
I mean, if you've got frenzy, you've got 2 4-ups to have a go at a free block, basically. So,
and that's why I'm excited about the College of Beasts, because you get Bloodspawn and Minotaurs and Rat Ogres, so you get that highly strength mighty blow and or claw frenzy. If you can pull off a 2 or 3 die block, that's going to get doubled. You're going to have twice the opportunity, and you start with only 6 players on the pitch. So if you can start removing them straight away, you can get quite a significant numeric advantage quite soon. And that's again very exciting when it comes to Dungeon Bowl, because you don't know when the ball's going to get found. So I don't know, it's really interesting. Roster's due date Saturday the 30th of April. That gives us a week to just make sure everything's all right, because the rule set is a little bit different. It gives us that opportunity to just double check everything out, and because it's going to be 40 people, not 70, we're going to print out a roster. We can provide you with a roster to make sure it's right. Now, the scoring, this is something different, but this has been inspired by some of the Dungeon Bowl tournaments that happened in the before times. So how Dungeon Bowl tournaments used to kind of work is they would have time limits, and at certain time limits the treasure chests would reveal what was inside them to kind of speed the game up. That's no fun. Okay, so when it comes to tournament scoring here, we are giving you extra points if the game finishes within an hour. Now, it is not likely to. Okay, but as there is a 1 or 0 outcome, or actually 1-0, you win, lose or draw, but it's only winning by 1 touchdown max. We needed that extra element of tiebreaker points. So if you score a fast win, if you get through that dungeon, grab the ball and score a touchdown within an hour, you get 40 points. A standard win, 30 points. A draw, 20 points. A slow loss, so a normal loss, 10 points, and a fast loss is 0 points. So if you need to hold out, you need to battle on there. And this is going to be, I'm hoping, causing coaches to try and finish the game as soon as they can.
I think so.
Because one thing that can happen in DB is you can tend to turtle. And actually, if you've got the opportunity here of winning quickly, you will score more points. And that's kind of more fun for everybody. And also it incentivizes you to, try and win. There's a couple of tiebreakers as ever at our tournaments. You get casualties, up to 3 per match. We're giving 3 casualty points, 3 bonus points for each casualty, up to 3 every game. Now, this is all casualties caused to your opponent's team during your turn count. This includes blocking, fouling, secret weapons, being hit by thrown players, being pushed into a teleporter and being lost in space. Yes, that is a rule, and I'm so happy that that is a rule. This includes melting someone with a College of Fire wizard. If you casualty an opponent's player during your turn, you get 3 points. Do it. Chainsaw, everything, bomb. Just get them gone. Get those 3 points 3 times, and then the next one. We've found, Ben, when we're playing our Dungeon Bowl games, that once the ball is found, the other treasure chests don't really do anything. They are there just to, I don't know, be run around. When you open a treasure chest, it will cause a turnover. You will have an armor roll made against your dude. So naturally, we're going to encourage you doing that. Every treasure chest you open during the game, whether it's got the ball in it or whether it just explodes, you will get 1 extra bonus point. So once the ball is found, if you've got some players that aren't doing anything, if you've got some Noblars on the College of Fire team, you've got some Snotlings on the College of Life team, you can wander them around a dungeon and use them to get those explore bonus points, just opening those treasure chests, blowing up, hopefully not dying, maybe taking out some opponents' pieces as well, but it makes those other treasure chests valid, like actually active in the game, which I think was quite important.
Yeah, I think it puts a bit more risk in there, but makes it a bit more exciting. And we've seen just these like little odd points really do way up. In the last tournament we ran, it was won by 1 or 2 points that were gained from these little extra points. So they're nice to have.
It is pretty good. So prizes and awards, we've got the overall champion. There is the stunty champion. So stunty teams will be considered the standard tier 3 teams. There are no tiering teams, but tier 3 standard teams, so halflings, ogres, snotlings and goblins, and college teams containing only stunty and strength 5 players are eligible. So there are a couple of college teams in there that you can brew up that are eligible for the stunty championship. I recommend against running them. But technically you can run a college of life team and have mixtures of halflings and snotlings and technically like a couple of beasts of Nurgle. There's some stuff you can do that technically counts as stunty, and just there's always one. It's probably Gary, but there's someone who will build a roster that is just very unique. I'm hoping that someone runs that out, but I don't know. Could
you run a full ogre team as a College of Fire?
You only get 3 ogres.
I cannot quite make up the point. Yeah, no. You have to get a billion snotlings.
Yeah, it'd be noblars and ogres and rerolls. Yes, bit of a shame. I mean, not for everybody else, but well, I mean, at that point, Ben, you just run a ogre team.
Yeah,
which
you
is
get one of those rerolls for free.
Well, I know you've got to save the cash for the rerolls. We're also doing best team. We're doing a participation trophy and the Explorer Cup. So over the course of the day, the player who opens the most treasure chests will be declared the Explorer Cup champion. And I'm hoping that there's a kind of like a little side gig where someone is like, nope, my goal here is to win the Explorer Cup. I'm going to open up like 5-6 treasure chests every game and just go to town. There's most casualties, chocolate armor award, and there is always a dirty player award. I always forget to put it in the rule book. There is always a dirty player award because it's just Blood Bowl, isn't it? What to bring? Please bring a team that is clearly marked, identifiable. Teams do not have to be painted, but we think the game looks better if they are. Please bring your dice and your throw-in templates. We're bringing the dungeons, so don't worry about that. It is a NAF sanctioned tournament. It's already been sanctioned. We are good to go. Best team at the start of round 1, everyone gets a nomination slip. We'll remind everyone to leave their teams out over the lunch break so that you can have a look. What is best team? It's up to you, whether it's theme, painting, conversion, whatever one you think, just like, wow, that coach did a great job. That's your Huckleberry. And there are a couple of FAQs that people have already started asking, and this is the cool thing about this. And when we get closer to it, people are going to start really thinking about it, and this is where the FAQ thing is going to be really handy. The 2 questions we've asked so far is, does swarming work in Dungeon Bowl? No. Sadly, players can only enter the dungeon via the teleporter, and wizards love proper order, so no sneaking on, extra players. And the next one, Snotling linemen in Blood Bowl. Rosters have the Titchy skill, but it's not present on the Dungeon Bowl skill. Which profile is to be used? To keep things simple, a Snotling is a Snotling is a Snotling. So the Snotlings in Dungeon Bowl will also have Titchy, because Snotlings everywhere have Titchy that aren't stunty only. So standard Snotlings will be standard Snotlings, whether they are on a Snotling team or the College of Life team. We're assuming that's just a typo anyway, but it makes no sense for the Snotling players to be fine, for the Noblars to be fine, whether the Noblar is on an Ogre team or on the College of Fire team, they're the same. It just seems weird that the College of Life Snotlings have got, like, I don't know, like little flags on that mean that you can see them better. Very strange. So we're going to ignore that. And also, Titchy is a big deal in dungeons.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, don't underestimate these little strength 1 dudes. They are vital for slipping past them, like just corridors of dwarves. You need them.
But I was thinking from the other point of view as well, Ben, because Titchy, you don't get the negative modifier to dodge through to dodge into a Titchy zone. So actually, those Snotlings not having Titchy in the College of Life means that you can just gum up corridors with snotlings that make it as difficult for your opponent to dodge as like
That's
Chaos
a
Warriors.
really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is why snotlings are snotlings, because they're snotlings. So they're snotlings. Anyway, I feel like that's been pretty well described. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a quick look at both the dungeon layouts, because we've got them. We've done, I think, quite cool graphics for them. They're not as cool as I'd like them to be, but I think they're a good start. And there are 2 maps, and we're going to have these printed out on reversible posters so that actually you can just roll out a dungeon, play. Then game 2, you roll it over. You're good to go. You don't have to do any setup. Now, on these maps, there are 6 teleporters. The teleporters are numbered, and there are also places lined out for the treasure chests. We will have treasure chest tokens available for every pitch. I've got 2 options for them at the moment. I'm not sure which one's going to be the right way to do it. It'll either be a clever use of poker chips or cardboard, actual board game chips. It depends which is going to be better for them to make for us. But the teleporters are already on the map, so you don't have to deploy the teleporters. You will take the 6 treasure chest tokens, you will mix them up. Or, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, we can come around and mix them up and set them up on your pitch for you. Doesn't matter to me, doesn't matter, I think, probably to Ben, if whatever you're happiest with.
Yeah.
The treasure chest with the ball and the bomb ones are going to look the same, so you will not know. Now, in both of these maps, they are symmetrical. In the way that the teleporters are placed, in the way that the treasure chests are placed. So it doesn't matter which side of the pitch you're starting on, it doesn't matter which table you're starting on, you will have the same dungeon as everybody else every round, and your side of the dungeon will be exactly the same as the opponent's side of the dungeon. So the roll to see who goes first is going to be very important, because it always is in a game of Blood Bowl. But when it comes to Dungeon Bowl, your path movement is going to be the same as theirs and the same on every table. And I don't know, this was weird for me, Ben. But in a way of like trying to make it as competitively fair as possible, I kind of felt this was the right thing to do.
I think you're right. I like it's you can be more creative playing Dungeon Bowl like with your friends and stuff. Like, but I think in a tournament setting, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have standardized.
Yeah, like some Dungeon Bowl tournaments that were run in the before times, they had standard like map layouts as well, which I think just makes a lot of sense. Now, having them printed is going to save a ton of time. Like, I love like building a dungeon together is great fun, but it takes like half an hour. And it would mean that we would have also to provide a set of Dungeon Bowl tiles for every table. You cannot buy them separately, so that would work out to be £1,800.
It's a little bit more than the budget.
Yeah, that would mean that it would be for 40 players, which, you know, plus table hire, it would be £50 a ticket.
At which point you share a Dungeon Bowl box between 2 people.
That's exactly what it is. No, this way it's £12 a ticket, because we're getting them printed, and it takes the amount of time it takes for you to turn the map over to change the map. Now, we've got 2 different maps. Map A is for game 1, and then again on game 3. So you're going to play a first dungeon, you're going to play your second dungeon, then you're going to play in that first dungeon again in the last round. So you will have learnt lessons, probably, from the first round. Pay attention, because when you go back to that dungeon at the end of the day, you're going to have already experienced those halls, that tunnel, and that layout. Now, you start with 6 guys in your end zone, and immediately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares, there's a teleporter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, there's a teleporter. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares. So every team, you will start off with 6, 7, and 8. Average movement speed in Blood Bowl is 6. So every team, College of Fire, runners, every team will be able to suicide jump a dude into a teleporter on turn 1. Whether it's recommended, I don't think so, but you can do it, and that, I think, was a really important part of the design for this first map, because you're playing on it twice, and someone there is going to be like, I'm going to jump my dude into a teleporter. What it does mean is you don't get to chuck slow-moving big guys or free little Noblar dudes in there, which I think is quite important. And it also rewards, so Ben, if you're thinking about running the College of Light, where you've got movement 8 catchers and movement 7 elves or whatever, well, you can make 2 or 3 of those teleporters without a single rush in that first turn. So you, in your first turn, can go through these teleporters and potentially start putting dudes on your opponent's half of the pitch immediately, creating zones to stop that, so they have to blitz past you to get there. That means that from turn 1, you will be making Dungeon Bowl decisions. And that is exactly what we want. We want you to be like, oh, do I just send him through a teleporter? Because if I roll the same number, he's going to disappear. If you want to know how that feels, go watch our game. Skaven.
Oh, there's a teleporter 2.
Oh, teleport 2. Don't go in teleporter 2. So there is a slight disadvantage to people jumping in this one here. Because, it's not good luck. Anyway, there's also in this map, and I really love map A, because you've got the Great Hall straight down the middle. Okay. Now there are doors, so only these 2 center squares are walk-throughable. You can go diagonally, like it's fine, but immediately you've got to think about the fact that your opponent can just run straight across and into your end zone by going straight up the pitch. Now the ball, nowhere near that, right? So they're going to have to filter out to try and find the ball to then bounce through. So you've immediately got this. I've got 3 channels to defend. There's the big one down the middle, and there's both the sides. The sides are where the ball is. The big middle is the fastest, which means if you are a trundly, chunky team, so College of Fire, College of Metal, you can just Western swagger your way up the middle of the pitch if you want to. And I think we're going to see some really cool stuff from that.
Yeah, for sure. That's intimidating. I'm looking forward to seeing how the different colleges and different teams navigate through that, for sure. If they, some teams will completely ignore it.
Yeah, they're just going to completely leave the middle open. Now, that's map A. Map B, instead of having 3 avenues, basically has 4 avenues. So these
I think, was this the map we played on the...
This was, yeah, this was. And the other map, I think, was the map I played against with Rick.
Yeah, was, yeah.
Yeah, and these 2 maps are going to be the maps that we use most frequently when it comes to the next Bonehead Championship Series, because this is kind of like competitive constructed Dungeon Bowl, which is just a weird...
Bit of an oxymoron.
It is an oxymoron, yeah. Cognitive dissonance in a show is what we're going for. So map B, you've got 4 corridors. You've got 3 attached to your end zone, which is super important in Dungeon Bowl. What we don't want is 1 avenue, because then you can just turtle up in that 1 corridor. Yeah. That's no fun. Okay, you've got 3 avenues in both maps. So important, because you do not have that many players, so hopefully that will force you to spread out. You can still go full gatekeeper, start your initial deployment drop of 6 dudes and just turtle up immediately, and then bring on your other guys one at a time. You can do that, but your opponent's going to have much more flexibility to get hold of the ball before you.
I remember those chests are worth a point each, so you're essentially giving them 6 points, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a really interesting one. So map B, you've got straight up from both your end zones. You will run straight down a corridor, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares away. 9 squares away is a treasure chest, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares away is a treasure chest as well. So you will be opening a treasure chest immediately on your first turn with most builds. Also, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares away is a teleporter. Now this one's a bit of a smaller map. It's a bit closer, but there's 4 different combat zones. And it feels more like kill team. You're kind of like planning out your strategy. Which corridors am I going to give up? How am I going to defend? And this is the one we played on, Ben, and you're right. And this inspired the Explorer Cup extra points, because if you open the treasure chest up on the right hand side, then the action is down the right hand side and that middle corridor, and then the left hand side of the map completely ignored. Well, if you can just take a Noblar and just wander around there and scoop up some extra points and go for the Explorer Cup while defending your center and right wing, you're good to go. And I think that's quite interesting. But two different maps are going to have two different opening plays, two different strategies, and the mix of team you're playing against will be massively different. And I am just so excited. It's outrageous.
Yeah, this is really fun, and this is what embodied the love for Dungeon Bowl. I think was it just has so many avenues. It becomes a real strategic puzzle. The random elements in this work really well because sometimes random elements in games can be frustrating, but I think in this, I mean, yeah, it can still be frustrating. Teleporter too, but I just think it encourages you to just completely break out of your Blood Bowl comfort zone and play something completely different with the rule set and knowledge that you already have. Like, it's not like learning a whole new game. It's just applying your skills in a very different way. And I think that's really, really fun.
I think we're going to have, well, when it comes to Blood Bowl, we often see, Ben, like, a third of the games are draws. I think we might see a little bit more than a third of the game in Dungeon Bowl be a draw. And that means that those extra points are going to be really important for you.
Massively.
Because, you open 4 treasure chests, your opponent opens none. You kind of win that game. Not from a points point of view, but you get more points than they do. So it's going to be a really interesting mix-up. I'm very excited to see how they play out. That's it. That's the Dungeon Bowl tournament. This is what we're going to be playing against. We've got maps. Oh my god, this is StarCraft coverage. Oh, we've got this map. They're playing TVC.
You mentioned this so long ago. That's why I was just like, where did you say this? You have said this before when we've had like a chat. I don't know if it was on the podcast or if it was just a chat we've had before. Be like, I really want that dream where you can have like maps and you can be like, this is the layout. They're taking this team. This is the strategy they normally go for. We're expecting them to go up the east flank here. This is it.
Dungeon Bowl has provided it. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And hopefully everything is starting to line up, and I really want us to do coverage. We still got to do some trials. We still got to do some tests, but we know the cameras work. We know the setup works.
Currently, we're struggling with Discord calls, so we've got a little bit of a way to go, I think, on the tech.
This is why I find it outrageous, okay? Because we filmed all of that, no problems at all. I spend my entire day running monster spreadsheets and using OBS as a virtual cam and through Google Meets, no problems at all. I run Discord and go in a video chat with Ben. My computer turns itself off. I don't get it, but it does give me an excuse to soup up the PC, so I think I might need to go shopping just to make sure that we can do this, because it would be sweet to be able to provide coverage. Anyway, BT, I think that basically wraps up what we've got to talk about for Dorset Dungeon Bowl. Anything to add?
No, not at all. I'm just really excited and I hope to see a lot of people there.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we've got over 2 months to go and there's like 7 or 8 tickets left. I think we should see a full house, which is awesome. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break and be right back. How you doing? And the last thing we're going to talk about today is the next series that we're going to be doing on YouTube. So the Bonehead Championship wrapped up last weekend and it was awesome. It felt like it was just going on forever. 18 games, 6 teams, brilliant moments, and I thought it was great fun, Ben.
I would love to comment, but I haven't seen it.
You were on it. Like, it's fine.
It's really bad.
Like, it's fine. Okay, actually, I'm going to put you on the spot now. How many Bonehead podcasts have you actually listened to? Have you listened since you joined?
I don't like the sound of... Not to a full episode.
I think that's fair.
I don't like listening back to myself. I don't watch the YouTube videos we've done either. Like, I don't know. I find looking at myself very awkward or hearing myself very awkward. I'm really bad at that.
You're a natural born presenter, Ben. No, wicked. Anyway, the Bonehead Championship was our mini league. I'm almost did the actual intro again, like just because I've said it so many times now that I got used to it. And and we used full-on SPP rules. We had 6 teams, 5 games each, did a round robin, then top 4 went through to the finals, had some great final games, like some outrageous finals. It was really good. And we had the Viewer Championship going on as well, and this is coming out on Saturday. I should be doing the wrap-up and the final standings of the Viewer Championship on the Sunday, which was really cool. So people would guess the games as they were going along, guess the scores, get points. We had a little leaderboard, and we'd go every episode. Like it was really good fun. Really enjoyed it, and we're going to be doing another one. It's going to be slightly different. So it feels like we're in kind of like Dungeon Bowl heat at the moment, but actually, you know what? Playing 18 games of 11s, full 11s, is a lot of standard Blood Bowl content. So we feel like if you want to see how Blood Bowl plays, if you want to experience people that hopefully you like have a horrible time, we've got you covered. And there were giants, which I'm very happy with, and some wizards that actually did very bad. So we're going to take this opportunity to do something slightly different for season 2, and we are going to go into Dungeon Bowl. And yeah, so what we're going to do is we're just going to talk through how the series is going to look and why we're doing the things that we're going to do. So Ben, how many colleges of magic are
there? 8.
Exactly. And how many teams are we going to be featuring in this season? Don't worry. We would have edited that out. We'd have edited that out.
How many teams?
Yeah.
8.
Exactly. That was a little bit more nerve-wracking than it should have been. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
No, exactly. We are going to have one of each of the colleges of magic, and it is going to be slightly different from the first one. So technically you can play Dungeon Bowl in a league format. Now, the more touchdowns you have, the more SPP you get, the quicker your players level up. Ben, how many touchdowns can you score in a game of Dungeon Bowl?
1.
Exactly. That is not a lot of SPP. So we're not going full on league because it would just take a very long time for you to level up your players. There's no line of slaughter, so you don't get the free blocks as the game goes on to get the casualties. You're not passing the ball all that much because you may not have the ball for most of the game, so you don't get completions. You know, throwing teammate, risky as heck at a dungeon. I can't wait to see that at Dorset Dungeon Bowl, Ben. What happens if I throw the goblin into the wall? I don't know.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, that is actually covered in the rule book. Throw teammate into walls. You can't bounce them off walls. They just go splat. That's gonna happen.
Such a shame.
I know.
Rubberized goblins should be an inducement.
Pinging snotlings down the corridor would be amazing. We might have to. I think if you throw a fun hopper, it should have a chance to bounce off the wall.
That should be good.
Yeah.
Like a guaranteed bounce, like at least 3 bounces before it resolves. Like a scatter, but for bounces.
House rules for Dungeon Bowl are where it gets really fun. So we're not running league. What we are going to do is run all the teams as if they were playing in the Dorset Dungeon Bowl, because we think that as a rule set, it's pretty good for Dungeon Bowl. With the timeline of this coming out, we should have several games out before the Dorset Dungeon Bowl, and we are going to use the maps from DDB as well. So this is kind of like these are how these maps work. These are how these colleges work. This is the build. This is how it works. We're just kind of trying to represent a standardized Dungeon Bowl kind of competitive format, because we think it's a really good starting point, and it should give you an idea of what a Dungeon Bowl event can be like, what Dungeon Bowl teams can do. So they are going to be straight up DDB build rules. So if I've edited this podcast correctly, this should be coming after the bit where we talk about the Dorset Dungeon Bowl. If it hasn't, then skip ahead. And I was bad, my bad. But we had to change things up because the math website went down. So we've done the time hoppy thing. Anyway, College of Magic, 1,000 TV, so 1 million gold. You get a free reroll, and you get a wizard of your college type. So there's plenty of builds, and that extra reroll means you can buy some of the more sporty stuff. And one of the great And very fair bits of feedback that we got from the Bonehead Championship is please don't use models that Ben has painted all by himself, because they are all green, they are all yellow, and they are all covered in agrax, which is incredibly fair.
Yeah, I remember the one where we were filming with the new camera angles, and it just happened to be, was it Widow's versus... No, was it Skaven Widow's?
Yeah, I think it was.
And they were both green and brown, and we're just like, actually... Maybe.
At least some of the teams had orange on them. Yeah, that was a really fair challenge. So Ben is painting up a few teams, I'm painting up a few teams, Milton is painting up a few teams, and I need to ask Trips if he doesn't mind if I just use his death team, but I'm sure he'll be up for it. But that gives different painting styles. We'll have the teams, they'll look different colors, painted by different people, which should massively increase the visibility. But there will be 8 teams. Now, tournament rules. So we're going to use the scoring exactly as it is for DDB as well. And it's going to be a knockout straight for the beginning. So there are 8 teams. So the first round, you lose, you're out. Then we'll go through. So 4 teams will go through. 2 games of those. You lose, you're out. So it's going to be a final will be after 7 games. So those of you that aren't that fussed by Dungeon Bowl or really want us to get back to 7s or 11s, this is going to be across basically 2 months. It's 7 games. It's individual knockout. I don't feel like, and Ben, I want to know. I want to know your thoughts on this. I don't feel like there are massive allegiances to colleges like there are with like people are like, oh, I love Snotlings. I want to see the Snotling team lots. I don't feel like that applies just yet to the college teams.
I don't think so. I think like, I mean, I'm saying this as someone who's just been introduced to that. Well, I know it's been around for a long time. I don't know if someone is a staunch like I am of fire or I am of beast. I don't think that really exists. No,
they changed it all. So
oh, of course they did, didn't they? Yeah, it used to be like jade and stuff.
And you know what? I think there would have been. Because like there was the cool one that was like halflings, dwarves, and werewolves, and you're just like, why? Just because. So actually, I think if they'd kept it over, there would be some people that are like, oh, I'm Stormbolts all day, baby. But you know what? That is not the case anymore. So what we did with the Bonehead Championship is we wanted people who liked a team to be able to see that team play multiple games, and we even went to the point of busting out the schedule so that no team went more than 2 or 3 weeks without a game. Because we wanted to keep everyone involved. And you know what? I love Skaven, so actually every few weeks I'm going to see a Skaven game. I built a wonderful little spreadsheet to help me do that as well. When it comes to the Dungeon Bowl, I don't think no one's going to be too upset. Like a Death, which I think is probably the most popular team, which is weird, but everyone's like, oh, I love the College of Death. It's like... It's just undead, dude, with flesh golems that you can't afford. Like, but still, you're like, yeah, College of Death. Like, I'll be gutted if the College of Death go out in the first round. Yeah, well, that might happen, but no one's going to be too upset. The only other way we could have done it is by, what's Ben? This is a double knockout. We see this in esports a lot, where like you have to lose 2 games to be knocked out or something. I don't know how it works.
I don't think I've seen that.
They do it in Magic, and it's very confusing. Okay. Basically, you play... So if we were to do that, it would be you play the first 4 games, then you'd end up with 4 teams going straight through, and then the other 4 teams would play, and then 2 of those would go in, and then you'd have 6 teams. And it doesn't work out. Like, you have to have a certain number of teams. So I can't remember what it's called. It's like duplicate knockout or something. But we're not going to do
double knockout or double elimination.
Double elimination. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it works with 8 teams. We can look at it in the future. But it might be a case that actually Ben's lovingly painted Fire College team just loses immediately, and we never see it again. And I think
bring it to Dorset Dungeon Bowl.
Exactly. But actually, because it's only 7 weeks, it's only 7 games. This is more about the competition and the tournament than it is about the teams developing, and I think that's actually quite a cool representation of the different things that's great in Blood Bowl. You know, with the Bonehead Championship 1, it was about seeing those teams develop. Well, DDB, there's no development. This is constructed format. These guys are what they are, and they're going to be playing up to 3 games if they're good, and this is about the teams and the individual games. So this is about the story of the match. Championship 1 was about the story of the teams, and this is going to give us a great opportunity to just play some constructed Blood Bowl in these dungeons, and I'm really happy because Ben, you and I, we're going to be TOing, maybe even doing coverage for DDB. Well, we get to actually take part in DDB before DDB happens and show you some stuff to do and not to do. So I don't know, I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah, I think it'll be a good laugh, and it'll be good fun to see all these different teams. Hopefully, we can get them all done in time, because that is a painting challenge. But we have agreed that it's something we're willing to take on, and we're going to try and get. What is it? We're all trying to do like 2 teams, 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, we've got 2 weeks till we start the first day of filming, and this is something else that we're gonna do is film more of it in one go, so there's a lot less delays. Because there's only 7 matches, we can probably get it done in 2 days of filming and 1 extra.
I'm gonna give the game away. We're gonna take like 3 t-shirts. That's the whole plan.
Filming 18 matches for the Bonehead Championship was it was fine. There's definitely some stuff we learned about just the production of it, the editing of it, the timelines of it, and when it comes to doing whatever we do after Dungeon Bowl Championship, we'll probably take some learning from that. But 7 games.
Yeah, it's almost as if like these TV game shows where they film like it all in one day. It's like they knew what they're doing. They don't
who knew? They don't just film a game a week.
Every week.
Yeah, like the final we recorded Thursday night, and it went out to the patrons Saturday morning. And I don't need to tell. And I had my second interview on that Friday as well. So Ian and I wrapped up filming. I edited it. I went to sleep. I exported it on the Friday night. That was the quickest turnaround I think I've done, and it was a longer than normal Blood Bowl game, is all I'll say. If you haven't watched any of the original Bonehead Championship, maybe just watch the finals, because there's some great stuff in there. And one of the other things I loved about the original Bonehead Championship was the fact that in one of the rounds we spiced it up a bit and added something special in there. We added giants. Now, when it comes to this season, we're not going to give anything away right now, but there are going to be some games that have some stuff in there that is unusual because we want to, and I think you're going to like it. And I think we should probably... Should we talk about it next week? Should we put a flag out there for some homebrew dungeon bowls?
No. Oh, okay. Homebrew dungeon bowl. Yeah. We'll keep it a surprise.
Yeah.
Keep what the thing is.
I think we should.
We'll do homebrew
dungeon.
That's a good show.
That does mean
I
got some stuff, some additional stuff to do for 2 weeks, which is just fine. That's fine. Oh,
you'll have allies, Ben. You have an army of brush-wielding hobby enthusiasts.
Well, we talked through two really good ideas that I think are pretty low maintenance, but could be hugely fun. So I think we do those. That'd be good. Anyway, there's some cool stuff coming. 7 games, Dungeon Bowl, and then don't know. We might do 11s again. We might do 7s. We might do both, but we're going to do it slightly differently. The great thing about this one is that we get to use the multicam setup. We'll try and do it slightly better. I feel like the first match you and I did, Ben, was pretty good than the one I did with Rick.
I thought that was really good. I really enjoyed that.
We learned some more lessons, and the cameras were better in that second one, which means that hopefully we go forward. We can do this a lot, even better that time. I thought it worked great. The fact that the models are going to be painted differently is really going to help. And we got to say...
You might try experiment with like coloured rims or something like that as well for positionals. That could help.
Yeah. I've still got all those Willy miniature skill rings. So
of course.
We've got some stuff we can do with that. Or we just print some stuff off. We've got loads of that as well. We got to say things like cut to camera 5, which just made me unnecessarily happy. And I know you loved it as well.
I did, pushing the buttons. It was so good.
Oh, so good. So good. Really good fun. So, just wanted to talk it through because I'm just really excited about it, and hopefully it'll be a good way to showcase Dungeon Bowl and kind of fits in with the Dungeon Bowl theme that we've got going in spring, which is all about DDB and the Dungeon Bowl Championship. So just a couple of weeks to go. You're going to see all the college teams, and you'll see some quality, mistake-laden Blood Bowl, and that's what we're here for. Right. Anyway, BT, I think we should wrap up. Thank you so much. I'm sorry it ran a bit late and we had some tech issues, but apparently Discord is the devil and Google Meets is for the win. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're learning.
We're always learning. No, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it.
We'll get it sorted by episode 100. Yeah.
Maybe.
No problem. Always a pleasure.
I mean, we've come such a long way in 88 episodes. 88 episodes ago, I did not consider the fact that we would be doing this, that we would have all this. And it's just, I don't know, man. We need to start thinking about episode 100 because it's not far now. 24 weeks away.
Very close.
Oh, no, we'll mention that a different time. Anyway,
okay.
Ben, thank you very much. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you've got some cool ideas for Dungeon Bowl, then share them with us. Otherwise, you'll see some stuff coming soon. And let us know what you think about the World Cup, because this is going to be a massive year for Blood Bowl. And I am definitely here for it. Anyway, BT, thanks very much. Guys, thanks very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead Podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking. Do you ever watch the Joe Rogan show or listen to the Joe Rogan show?
I have done before, and I found it so insufferable. I listened to it out of curiosity because you hear things about it. And from what I experienced, I'm just like, how is this as popular as it? I get it.
I think it might fall into the 40k realm of popular because it's popular, but because he is a trope. The podcast is the show is a trope, right? But I really like the fact that they talk about loads of stuff in depth for hours that you wouldn't ever get a chance to listen to or talk to. Like, there's so much stuff on there about UFOs and things. It's wicked.
I know what you mean, but I think there becomes a line where, because of its absolutely massive reach, it starts to have that kind of effect on there's people who will believe what is said and things like that, and that's just, I don't know. Maybe I just watched the wrong one, but I just found it I don't know where it was going. Maybe you need to
I haven't watched or listened to any of the ones that I think would antagonize me. So regardless of the whole COVID thing, I don't know which side they sit on. But from watching all the weird conspiracy stuff, he seems to just ask loads of questions. He's a
very good host.
Yeah,
I will say that. Regardless of what they talk about, he is really good at podcasts.
He just seems to disbelieve and believe everybody at the same time. It's really impressive.
I think that's it because he has genuinely no opinion. He will just say yes to whoever he's talking to. And so you get very real opinions out of the people he is talking to. But yeah, maybe because I actively sought out ones I know would antagonize me because I was in that kind of mood. Maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it.
Just warm up the keyboard. It's flame war time. Well, the only reason I ever listened to it is because of Aaron Rodgers. He went through this COVID thing, and then Dr. Joe Rogan gave him some advice to help him feel better, and it's all very strange. The celebrity circles there are all very dubious. Yeah. And then because of that, I think YouTube was like, hey, you like Joe Rogan and aliens, watch this. And tell you what, I watched this for hours, and then I went into a really weird space of not knowing what was real and what was not real anymore. And then which is also what happens if Tiff goes away for the weekend and I'm left on my own, it'll be like 7 hours of pure productivity. I will like, boom, that's 2 weeks worth of content done. Now let's watch some YouTube while I have dinner. And then 4 minutes later, I'm like, wow, nothing's real. It's all a lie. It's all coming to an end. Like Tiff
she comes home to find you like eating like tiny boxes of cereal on the floor or something.
Genuinely, this is it. She'll come home sometimes. She'll be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I don't know." But it's like I'm really lucky. Like I process things and I think about things like really fast. So if she leaves me, if I'm left unattended for too long in my own little world and I'm not productive, it's like I've been left on my own for like a week. I'm just so worried about when we have children, like, because I'm just going to be like, right, pop into the shops, and I come back, and they're going to just be like feral. They've created their own country. Like this is.
You're there, like encouraging them.
Yeah.
Like, you need to build some barricades.
Like, tinfoil hats, everything. I love it. I think it's great. I am gonna be one of those parents that's just so proud of things you're not supposed to be proud of.
100%.
Yeah. So I was the same, like at school. I still remember this. I went to the same secondary school. My brother's 5 years younger than me. He joined the secondary school while I was at college. And he came home one day and he was like, "Oh, yeah, the graphics teacher showed me your coursework today." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And he was like, "Yeah, told us this is what not to do." And I was like, "Okay, amazing. Like, thank you." And I was like, what happened in that lesson? I distinctly remember telling this bloke that I didn't need a GCSE in colouring in because it was graphics. Now, I was a big computer nerd, so I did the majority of my graphic stuff in Coral Print House is what it was, right? Mm-hmm. And I designed a video game box. I did it all on a printer, and I printed it out in several sections in colour and put it together, and it was like, no, you need to colour it in. I was like, I know how to colour in. Like, this is going to be red. I'm not going to sit here and colour it in red. Like, it's red. Like, that's going to be red. And he was like, you need to do this. I was like, I don't need a GCSE in colouring in. And I stormed out. And, yeah, I did do it.
I was going to say, it had to be pretty bad for them to spend 5 years teaching students what not to do.
It's because it was done. It was because it was done on a computer. I was really happy with the video game box. I was like, yeah, it's bang on. It got clip art. It was swish. You know, if it had been a presentation, there would have been explosions because this was the 2000s. And I still think about that dude, who I will not name just in case. But
he's a fan.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Everything is done on a computer now, and I have not coloured in since. In fact, I've barely used a pen since. In fact, I go to places and I take a pen and I do not even bother taking paper because it is just for show. Because if you tell me something I need to remember, I'm going to put it on my phone or iPad or laptop. Or my hand, I guess. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Anyway, Ben, it's nice to catch up.
Went from Joe Rogan to graphics teachers in like 5 minutes.
That guy. Anyway,